everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Tetracast, RPG Site's weekly podcast. I'm your host, Brian Vitale. Joining me, we have Josh Torres.
Season of open world action RPGs with time travel stories.
Mikhail Metnani.
Season of coffee.
Adam Vitale.
Hello.
James Galizio.
You know, when you put it that way, it's really weird that both of these games have very, very similar plots.
And Chaman Wu.
How's it going?
All right, so I have to open up okay, you guys I know are alluding to Nioh 3, but also is it Code Vein is the other one? Is that what
Correct.
you're talking about?
Correct.
I guess now that I'm thinking about it, that one did show off time travel and they were in their trailer. So, okay, well, that's a good way to introduce what two games we're going to be talking about this week. So, of course, this is our last recording in January. Code Vein just released a couple days ago. We're going to touch on that as the first topic of this podcast. And then we'll go into Nioh 3, which, of course, doesn't release in full until next week. But a sizable public demo was made available, and I know a handful of people on staff have made their ways through that. So we'll have a full discussion of Nioh 3 next week, along with everything else coming out in February. But we'll also touch on the demo this week because there's actually quite a bit to talk about there in terms of, well, we'll get into it. So yeah, two time traveling open world action game RPG hybrids. So that's how we're going to start out. So yeah, Code Vein 2. This is a game that I cannot speak to directly because I've never played the original, but I know many of people on staff have, and I know that Josh, you've been able to go hands-on for at least a moderate amount into the newly released Code Vein 2. So we'll start there. I presume you've played the original. Compare it to the second game. Thoughts, feelings. Compare it to Kazan. Compare it to Souls. Whatever you want. I don't know. What the most appropriate points of comparison are. But yeah, Code Vein 2.
Yeah, so the first Code Vein, when people look back on it, they, rightly refer to it as it's an anime Souls, it's anime Dark Souls. It's very much it's definitely one of those earlier ones that came out that was very inspired by the Dark Souls formula in terms of action RPGs and gave its own unique spin to it, and obviously heavily cel-shaded, very stylized anime aesthetic over it. And one of the things that people loved about it was it had one of the most robust character creators at the time. People oftenly joked, but now maybe it's 50-50 joked, been serious of hey, we got an awesome character creator with a game as an add-on to it because people really loved that character creator in it. And Code Vein 2, just for people, heads up, obviously reviews from other outlets came out earlier this week. We didn't get early access review code or anything, so I got code when the early access for people who paid the expensive editions came out. So I'll work on, I'm working through it, at my own pace. There's not a crazy deadline rush, at least along with it, but it'll come when I'm done with it. And with Code Vein 2, they have it's a different format this time around, where it's still very much this Dark Souls inspired pace and flow to combat, but much like Nioh 3, they decided, both Code Vein and Nioh, hey, our next entries should go open world. Maybe both were inspired by Elden Ring. Who knows? I can see it, but you never know. Obviously, Nioh 3 has a little bit more going on when we get into that because, Team Ninja released Rise of the Ronin before it and definitely built upon that foundation in interesting ways for that and get around to it. Code Vein 2 is, I don't know, I like it for the same reasons I like the first one, in the sense that it has a really great character creator, expanded a lot of options in the way that you can dress up your character with different outfits, and even taking parts of different outfits and meshing them together. So if you like an outfit that has a cloak or a shirt, you can take those specific parts and keep them, and then if you like another outfit's skirt or pants or jeans or whatever crazy things that it's working on the lower half of it, you can combine it with that. They included things hey, you can edit the color of your fingernails. You can stylize, you can go into a lot of minutia about the character creator and get something highly stylized to your sensibilities. and so forth. So that's still great that like they really doubled down on expanding that character creator. And if paid for expensive editions, you get more like color options, for example, in them for people who really wanted that and wanted to spend extra, and that doesn't affect gameplay experience on that end. But because it's such an this inclusion of the open world of like, okay, times have really changed in terms of like what people expect out of open worlds, especially in the action RPG space where Elden Ring sold so much and people are used to that and are expecting things to follow along that style. Code Vein feels almost outdated in a certain sense because the open world aspect of it feels even like Elden Ring definitely has like empty stuff in its open world, but you could find interesting landmarks in it. While Code Vein, there's collectibles you can find to upgrade your healing resources. You can find like little collectibles on the ground to craft buffs and food and stuff like that. And there are l- landmarks that you can enter that are like sort of like mini dungeons that lead to mini dungeons in a sense. But the the in between those, it just feels really barren and feels really uninteresting. I think the one thing that's really interesting about the way it does its open world, because it is a time travel plot, where the basis of the plot is I guess I should lead this by saying Code Vein 2 does not follow up directly from the events of Code Vein 1. It is Final Fantasy style, where even though this is there's a number 2 in the title, it is its own separate game apart from 1, which I can definitely see why people who played Code Vein 1 are disappointed that Code Vein 2 is its own separate, isolated story away from that, because the ending of Code Vein 1 led to some really interesting world building where you find out, hey, this is actually in the world of God Eater uh, in Code Vein 1. It's like, oh shit, I really wonder where they're going to go with that plot, and they just decided to shy away from that entirely, unfortunately. Um, so Code Vein 2, you're awoken as like this revenant hunter, and you're kind of put into the plot very quickly. It's a very, very kind of almost bare bones premise at the very beginning. You're awoken by this um character named Lou. She has a really bizarre design where like her chest has like a gaping hole, and you see her heart, like a golden heart in that hole. So like a lot of her chest is just like it's just a gaping hole. People who've seen like promo material of this game like it's like see this character, it's like, wow, that's a really bizarre looking character. And she has the power to time travel. And this power isn't complete at first, but she has the power to time travel 100 years into the past, because the current present that you're awoken in is pretty much a ruined world already. There's these things called the resurgence that happens that has disrupted like the land, and everything is kind of in ruins and fucked up, and it's just humans and revenants trying to survive, and revenants are ostensibly vampires uh, in this game. Um, so, in order to try and sort of like recover the state of the world, try to figure out what's happening, you need lose time travel power to go 100 years back to the past and try to, um, I guess, wipe out these individuals that would become heroes, because the state of the world that it's in the present is because the heroes are in their current state uh totally fucking it up. Like they're like in these cocoons, and you have to find a way to break these cocoons that the heroes are in. And in order to do that, you need to find like a key 100 years into the past where they were still alive and present, and you need to find something in that past to awaken them in the present and slay them. Um, essentially, it's a really
I do like how, like, even for stories that are relatively straightforward, just explaining time travel stories is
yeah,
never easy.
exactly. Like it sounds convoluted. It's straightforward. Don't think too much about it. It's not the deepest story to wrap your head around. But because of like you're constantly time traveling between the past and the present, you do see noticeable changes in the environment in the present when you change something in the past. A very early example is your first companion character after Lou is Noah, and you in the present when you wake up, you see Noah petrified, facing off against this monster, and when you go travel to the past, you meet Noah and you find out what events led up to him facing off against this monster. You save him, and so and you save him and the people there. So in doing so, Noah is now alive in the present. He didn't get petrified for all time against that monster, and the people working at that base in the past with Noah were able to survive that assault. So people who were like working on the construction projects like bridges were able to finish them because they didn't get wiped out during that event in the past. So now 100 years back into the present, this bridge is now complete. So you have access to a new area, like a new island. Um, now, and then there's like other stuff like then like the next big section that you unlock after that bridge is this whole story about this hero named Josie, and like this is all takes place in like this polluted sunken city. So you travel back to the past, meet Josie, learn about like her life and the people around her there. And after that whole section, you are able to get clean water again to these people in the past. So now in the present, that whole area is now transformed where it's not so run down and there's clean water, so there's more explorable areas now because you've unlocked and kind of fixed up that section in the present. So there's like cool things about it where you'll see like little things like in the environmental design and like the structures that are distinctly, they have a past version and a present version. I'm like, I think that's cool where they're able to at least depict the effect, the cause and effect of time travel, in terms of the environmental surroundings around you. And I think
When you
that's
describe that on paper,
yeah,
that sounds real neat. Like being able
yeah,
to be like,
yeah,
"Hey, this was all poisoned." The story or the narrative kind of pushes me to go to the past and correct a few issues, and then come back, and I have additional world space to explore because I accomplished a thing. Like on paper, it sounds really neat.
yeah. I think the unfortunate timing of Code Vein 2 releasing so close to like this public demo of Neo 3 and Neo 3 coming out next week is the combat in it is a very different, slower pace. While people freaking love Neo 3 combat, it's very chaotic, sporadic, fast paced. Like you are on it, and we'll get into like Neo 3 shaking up the formula with the its samurai ninja stances. But this is kind of in a weird scenario where I was able to play Neo 3 before Code Vein 2 came out. So I was already used to Neo 3 and going into Code Vein 2, which I'm, assigned to review. I'm like, okay, I have to rewire my brain. This isn't Neo 3. Code Vein 1, also had that same kind of slower paced, methodical combat where you can do like some cool stuff, but you are still bound by this Dark Souls esque, like, system. It doesn't like it's faster paced in the sense that you have more over the top tools, but Neo 3 obviously has gotten, it really refined and perfected for Formula Vert. It's no longer like almost this weird, with the first Neo 1 where it still was trying to find its identity in the flow of combat. Neo 3 has kind of found its own pace in it. So that's th- that's the interesting thing about it. Code Vein 2 is I the way that it does its like systems, the way that you build up your character is an extension of Code Vein 1 where but you get these, currency, souls currency in it to level up, but you don't level up stats individually, you level it up all in one go linearly. So like when you go to level 1 to level 2, it auto levels up all these stats, like base stats for you in minimal ways, but and that doesn't really affect your build as much. Like you get a little bit of health, you get a little bit of stamina, and a little bit of like +1, +2 attack power on your weapons. But the main thing that's really affecting like your damage output, your build identity, are these things called blood codes. blood codes are something that you get when you help out characters in the main story, um, when you meet new characters, when you forge bonds with them. Like Noah, for example, when you do his character thing in the main story, he'll give you his blood code, and these blood code affect like your actual attributes like dexterity, willpower, mind, etc., and have their own additional passive effects. Like if you are not overburdened on these attributes, meaning like you didn't like over exceed like the stat attribute cap that will give you debuffs. If you do, if you're not overburdened, you will get like something like reduced stamina consumption. And then if you reach like thresholds like in the mind and dexterity, if you reach like mind 3 and dexterity 5, you'll get this passive buff to you. So there's a lot of balancing of like how of what sort of build you want to go to, whether it's ranged or melee, and what sort of combat approach. There, you kind of have to balance these attributes and these passive buffs because it rewards you by doing it well. So if you like get overburdened like in two main attributes, you will have a slower dodge roll, so you'll have like a heavy roll like in Dark Souls, and that's very it doesn't feel good to move around and dodge roll, and you'll be way more vulnerable when you try to do evasive maneuvers. Meanwhile, if you build well and you're able to balance your main attributes so all of them are less than halfway than they're overburdened. So like there's like they have like a meter beneath them, like say the willpower meter or attribute. If you go over that meter, it gets overburdened. But if you are able to get it under halfway for not only that but all attributes, you get a really fast like not dodge roll, like a quick step, like in Bloodborne almost.
Wait, clarify something for me. I thought you mentioned
for
that
it.
you don't change your stats individually, but you do have these attributes that you manage individually.
Yeah, you don't manage these stats like through like using soul currency to level them up like Dark Souls. You use them by equipping blood codes, and blood codes don't they all have like they're all you blood codes aren't something that like you choose the stats one by one to +1 +2 +3. It's like, hey, Noah's blood code gives you like -5 dexterity, -5 mind, +7 willpower, +7 strength, etc. So they're all pre-configured already. You don't actually like minutely go +1 +2 on like the stats individually. Like
And
these
the way
blood
you're
codes are
describing them, are they
pre-configured.
unique to Code Vein 2, the blood codes?
These are in the first code vein as well. So
Oh,
like
okay.
this is like kind of like the primary way that code vein differentiates itself from like other Souls likes in the market, where a lot of your build comes down to what you equip. So it's not like you don't have to respec like in other games. Like you don't need to have like be handed an item or have a free respec. Equipping other blood codes is how you spec into other builds. Like you can only equip one blood code at a time, and they all have like a proficiency meter. So like when you let's say I equipped like this grade D glue blood code, which gives me these, it has its stat layout and whatnot. But once I finish like the proficiency level of grade D and talk with Lou, give me a grade C of her blood code, and that's an even better version that has like better like balancing of the stats and more bonuses, more powerful effects, etc. On that. So there's like a mastery to it, and when you master blood codes in Code Vein 2, you can actually like talk to this really tall, curvy girl, like woman named Lavinia. She's kind of like the overseer of the organization where Lou is working, and now you're working uh, for. And once you master like blood code, she'll give you boosters um, that you can equip onto your character. Like you can easily swap these boosters in and out, but these boosters are like dexterity +2. If you equip this booster, this certain weapon will have more damage, and you can equip up to 4 of these boosters and so forth. And boosters are also like an additional way for you to balance your burden on individual stats. So like say like the boosters are like dexterity +2 and +5. If you equip both of them, you have +7 to dexterity, so you're lessening the load of your dexterity stat. So you're able to like equip weapons that scale off of dexterity and at the same time lighten the burden of dexterity on you. It's one of those things like it's difficult to conceptualize if you've never seen it in front of you. But I swear to God that like it makes more sense once you see it in the UI. Because the way that like you describe this system, it's like this sounds like fucking insane. It's like a little bit, but once you like get used to like how your character build is basically modular from the things that you equip on you. That is the TLDR on the whole thing. That's what makes like building a character in Code Vein cool, like both Code Vein games, because you can have like a dual blades build, a bayonet build, a big heavy broadsword build, and like you can experiment with these like weapons and like proper builds for them on the fly instead of like having to do a respec item that may or may not be restrictive depending on the game. Instead of like having to go through that hassle, you just like equip different blood codes, different weapons, different boosters, and then you're pretty much ready to go experiment with like different playstyles on the fly instead of like having to work through the minutia of it all. So like my current build is like I really like bayonets. So I'm working towards like a really cool bayonet build where I'm able to zoom around with this dodge skill and then be able to use like this power shot maneuver to deal like a lot of damage from a distance and stuff. And the thing that another system on top of like just your health and stamina is this resource called Icore. It's basically your MP bar, but it's numerical. So like you have this Icore numerical value at the center of your screen. Let's say a blood, and this is all dictated by blood code. Let's say I equip a blood code that has like a max Icore cap of like 24. That means I'm able to use this power shot maneuver, which costs 4 Icore, 4 mana, a brief amount before I have to recharge it. And then in order to recharge that Icore, you or your partner, AI partner character, companion partner character, use this maneuver called like I think it's like a drain attack, and which is like dictated by like another weapon on top of your main weapon. So you have your main weapon, an eventual secondary weapon slot that you can unlock, and like this this drain weapon, which comes in the form of or like drain forma or whatever it's called. I forgot already. And this can come in like very like different forms. Like one early one is like summoning bats. So like you grow character like bat wings for a sec and fling bats at an enemy, and when those bats hit an enemy, they reward you some Icore back. You get some mana back, and you have more resources. Another like Icore or Forma drain attack, whatever, is like a scythe, and this scythe is cool because it's totally different from the bat one. You spin the scythe before you slash with it, and during that spin animation, you can actually parry an attack during that animation if it hits with you during that time frame. And then when you hit them with a scythe, you get some Icore back. You can charge these attacks to get more Icore back. So you kind of have this you're balancing all these different things along with balancing your mana resources to be able to continue your offense and take defensive measures when need be. And along the way, you always have like a companion character with you who's actually useful. On their own, taking aggro, doing some damage, giving you some breathing room if like a boss is really up on you. And but you can they also serve as like a second chance. So like let's say you die in combat and your partner character is still alive. They'll be able to revive you as long as they're still on the field. Like they'll actually like just like auto revive you. You don't have to wait for them like running over to you. You'll like they'll almost like you'll absorb them in order to revive at like half health, and then this will get lower as you get more auto revives, and then and then your partner character will respawn after a certain amount of time, um, and you can if you're able to like survive while they're still on cooldown, for example, if they're summoned back to the field, you'll get another auto revive as long as they're on the field. Obviously, the more you fall down in combat and get auto revive, the longer it takes for them to respawn, essentially. But if you're the type of person that's like, hey, I don't like playing with a partner character, I don't want them like taking the aggro of my opponents, I want to do this on my own, there's an option for you to just like either disable them from like the bonfires, or you can like absorb them um, from the field, so you have like buff stats, and you don't and they won't be on the field either. So those are two ways to disable those partner characters if you don't want them. I think one of the big things going from Code Vein 1 to Code Vein 2 that they actually cut out is in Code Vein 1 there was online multiplayer. You can play, with other people. In Code Vein 2 it's entirely single player now. They cut out all the multiplayer components from it. But it just kind of sucks. Like people really did like
I
play
know
co-op in Code
a
Vein 1.
couple of people that straight up have not bought this because they wanted the co-op.
Yeah, absolutely. See that. So I think it's a bizarre decision, but maybe it was like one of those things that they unfortunately had to cut with this, move to the open world structure. I don't know. But yeah, I mean that's kind of the big like, lowdown on Code Vein 2. It's like there are things I like about it. There are things I it feels outdated in a sense, and obviously the big talk about it is just the optimization around its both the console and the PC version. It's still like in a rough state in all the platforms that it's on. Like I know when I booted up the game on my desktop PC, I have a 3080. It will like the average frame rate performance on it is like anywhere between like 40 to 55 FPS ish. So it doesn't like it kind of feels choppy on that. I've actually installed an engine INI tweak with it that raised my performance from 40 to 55 FPS to more around like 60 to 75 ish FPS, which on average, which feels better. Though when it's loading up new areas, it will like dip down into the 20s briefly for like a few seconds when it's loading up as this new area. Um, Also, like the cutscenes by default run at 30 FPS. That they have a cap of 30 FPS. There's no way to change that in the game unless you mod it. Unlike Neo 3, which looks better in comparison because Neo 3 gives you the option to go to 60 or 120 FPS for cutscenes, raise that cutscene FPS cap. While in Code Vein 2, it doesn't give you that option. There is like a PC mod to unlock that, get rid of that frame rate cap on it, so cutscenes do run a bit smoother on my machine because I installed those two mods to make it feel better to play, which doesn't seem great.
And also, just to add a little bit of context, then Mikhail,
Yeah.
you mentioned earlier that we got review code late. I'm pretty sure the
Mhm.
reason is because we requested a Steam PC version, and if you look at Metacritic right now for the PC version of Code Vein 2, there's I think one review from PC Gamer, and it was like a couple days ago. So my point is that no one had really early access to the PC version, and maybe they were like optimizing it to the very last second as much as they could, because they knew that it wasn't necessarily, up to snuff or whatnot. So it wasn't just us; it was just like that PC version might have been coming in relatively hot. Go for it, Mikhail.
Yeah, I was curious what you thought of the music so far in Code Vein 2 because like Code Vein 1 soundtrack was fantastic. I haven't played much of Code Vein 2 yet, but yeah, like just curious about that.
Yeah,
I've heard good things about the soundtrack for 2. It's Goshina again, right?
I don't know. I don't know if it's exactly Goshina. I don't know if there's like confirmed credits for Goshina. I know people really like Code Vein 1's OST because of Goshina, and that was confirmed. I don't know if like I haven't seen credits on who exactly did the music yet on the tracks for Code Vein 2. But the Code Vein 2 soundtrack it's kind of a weird like it feels weirdly, I don't know if out of place is the word. Like the quality of the tracks is really good. It's very grandiose and orchestral, but the visuals and atmosphere that you're like witnessing in the game, it feels too grandiose for like a lot of like the cutscenes. Like for example, like you have like this you saw this at like a preview event, this story battle at like the aquarium.
Yep.
Yeah, and after that boss battle, you go into a cutscene, but like it feels like that cutscene is a little bit melancholic for what Josie is processing at that moment. But the backing OST feels very grandiose and up like it just feels too grand for like the events that it's portraying. And I feel like this happens to like in the game way more often than like I would like to, because I feel in my mind this game is like it's a very melancholic atmosphere because you're trying to find a way to like almost repair the world through this time travel story. But the backing track is like the tracks themselves are like fantastic, but for the what the scene and the tone is going for in that scene, it feels too grandiose in my
You know what that
opinion. I
reminds
think
me of?
that's my only complaint. Yeah.
It reminds me of Xenoblade Chronicles Cross, where
Mm.
Elma is giving you the tutorial of like the squads,
Oh yeah.
and for some reason the backing track for that from the composer, what's his name? I forget.
Sawano.
Yeah, Zawano is just like super upbeat and
Yeah.
all
Sawano's going
encompassing.
Yeah,
ham.
yeah.
It's just like, why are you playing this over this like kind of dry tutorial of like there are 8 squads here in New LA? Yeah.
Yeah.
I have. Sorry, I have a question for you.
No,
Can
go
you
for it.
explain to me why there's a musical? I'm curious to try out this game because this bad guy sing this musical or something. This
Oh
swan-looking guy.
yes. So one of the promo things that they release is like one of the companions you meet in the game. I haven't met him yet. I can't answer that question for you because I'm not that far in the game yet. But one of his companions, like he kind of looks. He has his mask. He looks kind of like he looks a little bit edgy in his design. But then when you watch the trailer, it plays out like almost like a Disney musical. He has a fantastic voice in English, and then in Japanese, he's voiced by Koyasu, very very famous Japanese voice actor, and it feels like a Disney musical, and it just defies expectations based on the character design that you're seeing going in. I don't know what this dude's deal is. I'm really interested to like meet him in the game and see what he's all about. Like his name's like yeah, thank you, Adam. Zenon Greifgoat, I guess is that or Griffgoat. I don't know how you pronounce his last name. Yeah, I don't know. But it's a really interesting, um, you know, character archetype. I think the companion characters are like interesting, like in the way that they're what their backstories are and what like circumstances led them to do what they did. I think the presentation of like their backgrounds is a little bit once again outdated because anytime that like a story scene happens that needs to like delve into like the character's background and like and like important character NPCs surrounding them, it goes into this flashback segment where you're transported into like this almost dream sequence, but this dream sequence is basically a straight line that you can only walk, not run across. So you're slowly walking through this dream sequence of like different like events and conversations that like that happened in their past, and like and you're just holding the left stick forward, and that's it as these conversations are happening, and you're just that's it. And like after these conversations happen along the way, they'll construct more of the path for you to move forward until you reach a door to exit out of this. And this happens like almost constantly when you're doing the main story sections, which is once again, there was a time when video games did this, and they've done it less and less over the years. While Code Vein 2 is like, this is what I do. It's like, all right, well, games do this less often these days, and for good reason because it's not an effective storytelling tool for me.
It's basically like a cutscene only without any of the actual like cutscene choreography, and it's your interaction is just hold forward.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that doesn't. Yeah, I can see like why people are like first impressions are they're obviously them not having co-op big bummer for a good chunk of the audience who like Code Vein. Obviously the move to open world doesn't isn't driving with a lot of people both for optimization issues but also because the open world structure and design isn't all that interesting like to traverse through. And like the gameplay is if you like Code Vein gameplay, it will give you this. It'll give you like this like versatile, builds and like what to go, presenting you options on what to go for, different weapons and weapon types, and all this mishmash of how you want to play. Like it does excel at, like if you're interested in like the character creating and almost like theory crafting builds. I think it excels at that. But I think a lot of like the things surrounding the gameplay at the moment that I'm in is it's more of a hassle than it needs to be, especially because the overall performance of this game is just it feels dire sometimes. Even with the optimization mods that I put into it, it doesn't feel great to play sometimes because of the optimization of it.
Obviously, we'll keep tabs on Code Vein 2 as you play through that and write up your final thoughts. Do we know like like I don't from other reviews like how long was the original game? Like whenever I think open world, I'm like, all right, this game's gonna be twice as long as the last one. I wonder if that'll be true for Neo as well in
Yeah,
terms of like how
Code
much
Vein is like maybe 20, 25 hours. If you're really
right,
if you're more attentive, like
brief,
it's like maybe
super
30
short.
plus. Yeah, so like Code Vein, like not too long of a game. I imagine. I don't know how long Code Vein 2 is going to be. I imagine it's going to be like maybe 40-ish on average is
Yeah.
my ballpark guess.
Mhm. And very rarely do we have the 2 games that we're talking about end up being, like, compared to each other in a really genuine fashion other than the fact that they just happen to, like, be talked about on the same day. Because 'Cause we're gonna go straight from Code Vein 3 to talking about Neo 3. So this will be a little bit of an abbreviated talk because 'cause we're gonna go full details of Neo 3 next week, but we talked about the demo is very extensive, and many of us have had our hands on the demo, including, I know you, Josh. Uh, I'm gonna hand the microphone off over to Adam to start out talking about not the Code Vein 3 demo, Neo 3 demo.
The
'Cause
Code Vein 3
I know
demo,
that,
let's go.
yeah, but I know others have also played it. Not me yet. I'm working on other things. So I know Mikhail and Josh and others will chime in. But Adam, I know you booted up the Neo 3 demo. I was watching you play it a little bit last night. I know you were a big fan of Neo 2, and I think you were a relatively big fan of Neo 1 as well. So just, take us away. And what did you think of the demo so far? And are you looking forward to the full release next week?
Yeah, so I got to play Neo 3 last year at a preview event,
Oh, that's
right?
right. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, so I kind of was already, familiar with like besides the ninja samurai switching style stuff, when you're playing with the demo that I was playing in when I went to their offices last year, like the first thing that hits you like, oh, this is different, is the world map. Like the original games had no map. Like the first 2 games, you're in levels, there's no map, very individual. You're trying to find shortcuts, kind of in that level design to get to a boss, fight the boss, and you complete the game in stages. I remember the demo that I played at Koei Tecmo's offices. I fight a boss, and it's a great boss. The Neo series has a lot of really fun, really high energy bosses, and then it kind of, I was expecting, kind of from history with the games,
Muscle memory.
yeah,
Yeah.
muscle memory, to like kick me to the world, to kick me to like a menu, like choose your next level. And it's like, nope, that doesn't happen. It kicks you back out onto a world map. I'm like, wait, where am I? What am I doing now? And it did feel a little bit awkward, but so here in the public demo, it starts out with a tutorial. You are in a sort of like dojo. Basically, it's the sort of things you expect. It's like, pick your weapon. Now let's try it. Let's give you a reminder of how these Neo games play and whatnot. And then you get attacked. You do like a tutorial sequence where you're going through a relatively linear stage with no map. And at the end of that, you do kind of fight a boss battle that you cannot win. It kind of kicks off the events of the game. Basically, your main character's brother is jealous that you were going to be chosen Shogun, so he kind of rallies the demon yokais to like fight on his behalf because he wants to be Shogun really, really badly, I guess. And you get flung through time, and then in the second part of the demo, you're in a world map, like an open world. You pull up a menu and a map, which you've never had before in Neo, and there's all of a sudden it's like you have a compass and there's some icons and there's stuff to pick up, and it's like, oh, this is different. If you played Rise of the Ronin, it has, it's very evident that some of that philosophy has brought itself here, including, for example, like an exploration level. So you find different icons on the map. They can be valuables. They can be scampuses, the little fat ball cap things, kodamas. There's a new creature that's called a Chijiko, which is like a flying ferret weasel thing. There are enemy bases, kind of like in a lot of open world games. You go into a base, kill all the enemies, and it unlocks it or opens it for you. There's crucible spikes. There's like, which are like, they're kind of like little mini wave-based battle arena things. And you knock these things off, and there's literally a checklist in the menu, like quite literally check boxes and check marks. And as you fill those up, you raise your exploration level, which can give you stats and give you other bonuses for doing that. So it's one of those things where it is to your benefit to explore and do these things, because you do become a more powerful character when you do that. Now, all the combat stuff is still really good, very, very similar to the other Nioh games. There's a couple of big differences, of course, with like the jumping, because some enemies now fly. There's some new enemies that are like, they clearly took this into consideration with enemies that are now flying. But then the biggest difference with the combat is how they separated your samurai abilities and your ninja abilities.
Yeah, I wanted to mention that before we get to the ninja, the exploration levels, like it's also to the benefit of like people who like collectibles, because like in Rise of the Ronin, where you go into the zone, you don't see anything yet, and you kind of go along the path and see, like, do different activities, whether it's like, getting a Kodama, chasing down Stampuses. I forgot what the new one was, where you have to like, they're now in the air. Yeah, and they're another cute animal that you get to collect. You can also do like stuff like clearing out enemy bases like you did in Rise of the Ronin. But once you get to like the max level exploration level 4, it'll show you all the collectibles in that region, just like in Rise of the Ronin. So it is to your benefit, like you mentioned, not only just stats, but for people who like collectibles, there's no guesswork of like, where's this Kodama on the map or this region. Just like raise your exploration level, max it out, and it'll be all indicated on the map, and you're free to just get them at your leisure. No having to like look up a guide or something. In that respect. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, I mean, and so of course there's the exploration level stuff. It does change the pacing of the game a bit, because obviously in the first two Nioh games they're more level based, and every level has a boss at the end. Obviously the main levels had like the bespoke, story centric important bosses, where other levels, like maybe side missions and whatnot in Nioh games, might just have like a mini boss or a pair of bosses, like a kind of a more regular enemy, or maybe like, some sort of encounter at the end. But there was sort of a pace to it. You start a level, all the levels are relatively the same length, I guess main and side levels. And then you fight a boss at the end, you go to the next, and there's kind of there's a cadence, a pace to it, where now it's like, you're exploring the world, and there's multiple directions you can go, and there are like formidable enemies on the world map and whatnot. And sometimes open world style, you might find like a big kind of mini boss on the world map, and it's like, should I take this guy out now or should I come back later? And you can make that decision. Whereas in Nioh, there being all level based, you had to progress through the level, in the way that it went, right? You didn't have a choice. You can maybe choose which level you were playing, but otherwise, so the pacing in the game is definitely different now. Haven't played enough to say if it's better or worse, but it is something that I can easily see this being a reason why you might like Nioh 3, or a reason you might not like it, because that open world kind of zone framing is very different than a level-based game, right?
Right, you have to consider like it's a 360 degree, like explorable area now, and like the linear stages. So a very viable tactic now is just like the hit and run, because like in Rise of the Ronin, like the eyesight, the enemy sight is fairly limited in this game, like it was in Rise of the Ronin. So it's very easy to just like do a sneak attack and then go back and like take a few steps away, and then they're like, oh, where are you? And then you can just do it again. Like you can like stuff like that you can just do now.
Also important to mention, so in the demo, if you played it, like at the last part of the demo is something called a crucible. And a crucible, in Nioh's case, Nioh 3's case, is basically a level. Like, it's their way of saying, like, hey, did you miss the levels from Nioh 1 and Nioh 2? Well, here is a level. So you're in the Hamamatsu region, which is kind of the demo region of the game. You're trying to get to the castle, and then there's like a big kind of demon realm in the way. And they call this a crucible. and you basically enter it, and it basically, in a sense, takes you off the world map. Like, it separates you, divorces you from the world map for a moment, and puts you in this level. And in the Crucible level, you don't really have a map. You do have like a radar, and it does show you some icons on the radar, so it's not like you're completely blind, but it's not really part of the world map anymore. So those are the moments.
They have the lamppost, like there's a
Yes.
spirit with you that will actually like highlight your path like along the main path. Like it's basically just telling you, hey, you're on the main path. You're not getting sidetracked. This is where you
Yeah.
need to go. Which is probably people had some complaints of that with past Nioh.
Yeah, you're getting lost. Like, where's the one path that you need to go to progress?
Yeah.
Now there's a little lamp that shows you go this way. There's little side paths, just like there are in previous Nioh games, where it's like you go over here, there might be a collectible or an item, like a samurai lock or ninja lock, which are the things that allow you to get skill points or whatnot. But yeah, and then that Crucible in the demo ends with basically the boss of the demo. The name I don't remember. It's like a woman with like a flame snake head and an ice demon head, like arm things that you fight. It's a pretty fun boss, really. And I think it's like, the first major boss of the game, really. So nothing too, impossible. I think very manageable, but kind of, it's very fun to play. And in terms of combat, I'm liking this just as much as I like the previous Nioh games. I will admit that I, in playing the demo, have stuck mostly with samurai style, and I only switched to ninja style. I should mention this, actually. You switch between the two styles at the press of a button, right? It's your right trigger if you're playing with a controller. And the game, I think I mentioned this when I did the earlier demo last year. Enemies do like their wind-up attacks. I forget what they're called, but they glow red, and it's an attack that you cannot block. So what you're supposed to do with those attacks is you're supposed to counter them, right? And how the game does this, like by default, is that you actually press the stance style switch button to counter those attacks. So you like get attacked with a big wind-up attack, you counter it, and then it automatically switches you to the other style, ninja to samurai or samurai to ninja. And I think that's kind of an interesting decision because it sort of forces you to have that like switch off to do that. And so I usually play in samurai style, and I only switch to ninja style very infrequently when I'm like countering people, and I'll play with it a bit, but then I usually turn back to samurai because I'm a creature of habit.
I'm the inverse. I've been a ninja main, rarely touching samurai. This is the thing that might, for people who play Nioh and know Nioh, they're fine with it. But this is definitely something that might break people because the samurai style and ninja style are distinctly treated as different characters, even in the character creators. So if you wanted to make like a male samurai and a female ninja, go for it. So like
I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah. So when you switch between the styles, you have a totally different character appearance and different everything. So like people have been experimenting like say like Ranma Half. Like if people know Ranma Half, they made like their character like that, which is pretty awesome that the game allows you to do that. But because like they're treated as two separate characters, their whole entire equipment set is also treated as different. So you are gearing not one but two entirely different characters because samurais have their own unique set of weapons and armor, and ninja has their unique set of weapons and armor. So you are making almost twice the decision making in terms of like gearing your characters, unless you're really vigilant about like not touching the other stance at all. And you can do that. Like you're perfectly fine. Like, hey, I only want to switch with stick to samurai or ninja. So like the only time you either engage with them or not is like countering these red shift attacks, or like just dodging them entirely and just continue playing like that style, and that's totally fine.
I should mention that I was going to mention this. The game actually does give you the option to go in the menu and kind of uncouple the counter button with the style shift button. So if you want, you can stay in samurai style or ninja style and still do the counter. And like obviously counters are valuable because
I forgot that it gave you the option to do that. That's really cool, actually.
I haven't messed with it, so I don't. If there's any caveat there, I'm not aware of it. But yeah, so ideally, you should be able to basically, if you want, to stick with one style or the other and never even bother with the other style.
Yeah.
Now, there are some advantages to like ninja versus samurai. Like samurais can do the key pulse stuff, which is maybe important for the some enemies like to do their little like demon vortex, yokai vortex portal pool things. You know what I'm talking about. I forget what they're called. That you want to clear out. Ninjas can't do that, but they do use less ki in general compared to the samurai, so they can do like longer chains of attacks without having to worry about their stamina too much or their ki too much. And then there are some other advantages. For example, ninjas do more damage from the backside of enemies. So like
Instead of the key pulse, they can, like, if you press R1, you can dodge like in a direction through like an enemy. So
Yep. And so like they have their own like utility, and it like a relatively common and kind of obvious strategy is if you knock down a boss or an enemy and they're staggered for a bit, uh you can do your like grapple attack and then kind of go behind them as a ninja and attack them with whatever your ninja loadout is, and you'll do more damage. Just ninjas just have that inherent property; they do more damage from the backside compared to like samurais who don't. That doesn't happen. I've like I said, I've been primarily playing with samurai, switching to ninja like here and there, but I actually find myself like I have my samurai build. I'm very happy with it. My equipment makes sense, works well together. And my ninja build, like my equipment is just kind of like hodgepodge, just like whatever, just slap it on, and not as thoughtful. And they take more damage because I'm not as careful with the build. Like I should probably give my ninja build more attention. But you do have to now because you now, like you said, you have two totally separate equipment builds that you needed to worry about.
Yeah, I really like Ninja. They also have like a more of a focus, like you have like actual like skills in the air that you can use.
Yes.
So there's like a mid-air focus that you can do with Ninja as well. They obviously all of the ninja tools, ninjutsu stuff have been like allocated to the ninja. While in like previous games, you could kind of make like almost a hybrid build. On this one, if you want access to those, there is, ninja is for that because you have like recharging like ninja tools and ninjutsu. Of course, both samurai and ninja have access to Omnio magic.
Mhm.
For those. And also the neat thing is, even though like both samurai and ninja can use one-handed and two-handed swords, like the ninja variant of one-handed and two-handed are treated as completely different weapons, different move sets, different abilities. So they're just like essentially like new weapons made for the ninja style, even though they on the surface it looks the same, but it's completely different in the way that they play, which is really cool. But it's kind of interesting because at the beginning of the game, I thought, "Oh my god, did they get rid of the stance system?" But
Oh, yeah.
no, the low stance and the high stance from the previous games, you unlock them now once you get access to the open world. So like you have to remember, it's like, oh, they didn't get rid of it. You just have to unlock it in the samurai tree. While ninja doesn't have any stances at all. For people who don't, obviously, if people found the stance system intimidating in previous games, they were totally fine just sticking with one stance and you can complete the game with just their preferred stance, and that was totally fine. While Ninja is like you don't have to worry about any stances at all. You have a different set of tools that you can manage with them. So for people who might have been shied away from these games because they found the stance system intimidating, maybe like the new Ninja style that doesn't give you that option entirely, you might be able to, this might be your like entry into the Nioh series because you might enjoy the ninja style, because it just completely, changes the way that you engage with the game, play the game, and that's totally cool. Like I've been really liking the ninja style because it, you like, for example, am I am doing like a electric ninja build, so I have the option to like build a lot of like electricity build up on enemies to stun them so they move slower, so I'm able to maneuver more easily around them and do like, back damage. So it's really cool. Like I really enjoy. Like I thought I was very hesitant at first. I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna feel about this game with this whole open world style and the whole like having the new ninja style. But I think I'm okay with the way that they separate samurai and ninja, and also the zones themselves are fairly like they're not super big. Like
No.
the points of interest is all along like, like at routes at the end of them, and so like the moment to moment action is still fairly consistent because the route to place is fairly, it's not a long trip to get to like the next point of interest. Like there's not a lot of like empty space in between like things you want to explore in the open world, which is, I appreciate. I'm glad that's not like a very big, vast open world in each region. Like you can find things to do fairly quickly in them.
Yeah, we should probably couch more discussion for the full release next week.
Right.
I do think it's worth mentioning two things though. One,
Mhm.
like you don't have to play Nioh 1 and Nioh 2 to play this one. It's it takes like its own premise, and as we know, you kind of like hop through time to like different parts of Japanese history, from Warring States period to Bakumatsu period to before that. So you can start with this one. You're not merely missing anything. There's even I think in the game somewhere there's going to be like some catch
Yeah,
up.
like text summaries, like entries. Like it's funny because when I access these early on, like the glossary, like the story recaps of Neo 1 and Neo 2, and there's like basically text entries. Neo 1 is very like it's like one paragraph, one meaty paragraph of like the events of Neo 1. When you go to Neo 2, it's like you have to fucking scroll down. It's like a whole body of text. It's like, oh yeah, it got really chatty in Neo 2. It really expanded the story between Neo 1 and Neo 2, which is really funny. But once again, you don't need to know like these. Like this is a very completely isolated story from.
Now, I do expect,
Mhm.
I just expect that one of the secret bosses in this game near the end somewhere is going to be William. They're going to throw him in, like, somewhere. You know it.
Like in Rise of the Ronin.
Yes.
Oh.
So,
I can't wait to fight Commodore Perry again as another boss fight.
yeah, they'll just throw him. Or Ryoma.
Uh,
Just have him.
oh god.
Yeah, you go to the
that'd be
Bakumatsu
awesome,
period.
actually.
So,
You do?
actually, like I said, the
It's gonna be Ryoma in New York City.
yeah, with the top.
Yo.
But yeah, like I said, in the demo I played last year, I did fight Shinsuke or whatever his name is, who's from Rise of the Ronin. So like, it was a different character design. It wasn't like the same guy transplanted, but the character from history or whatever was
Right.
there. So, but also the other thing I wanted to mention, and James might want to chime in on this one, is that playing the demo, the PC port seems actually pretty
It's the
good.
best they've done.
Yeah,
It's the
compared
best
to like
they've done. Yeah.
compared to Wolong, compared to Nioh 2, compared to Rise of the Ronin, and I've never played it, but Wild Hearts.
Wild Hearts, I would say the main problem with that is the stuttering, especially nowadays. But this one is like miles better than Rise of the Ronin, because I just played through Rise of the Ronin. That PC port is dog shit. I was
not
able
good.
to push through it, but it's like not a good port. This, it looks and runs.
They
so
really
much
cared.
better.
They
Yeah.
really cared about the performance of the game. They're making sure to like, hey, it's a day and date on between its console release. We really like this is the one that matters, and they really it demonstrably gave it their all on like optimizing the shit out of this. Obviously, there's still
One
going to be
thing, yeah,
go for it.
it's still a demanding game because it's like
Mhm.
current gen only. So anyone that has a PC that's like 6 or 7 years old, you're probably going to run into some issues. You might want to cap it at 30 FPS. I know it's a Neo game, but especially with the state of hardware right now, if you haven't upgraded your PC within like that time frame, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, but there's still like some people here and there that do have like some weird crashing issues, even like on boot
Yeah.
up, like with more modern systems. So I think they're investigating that.
It looks
Um,
like it might be mostly an RDNA 3 issue from what I can
Oh,
tell. Because
okay.
it's the same engine as Yumi, like Atelier Yumi, which had the same problem.
Interesting.
And Koei Tecmo has had a bit of a history of like weird issues on AMD cards. Because I remember part of the reason I switched to NVIDIA was because when I was reviewing Wild Hearts when it first came out, even though I reported issues in Wolong on RDNA 3, they knew about it for like over a month. They didn't fix it. They did fix it in Wolong before launch, but they didn't fix it in Wild Hearts. So I did that review on my, at the time, laptop at very low settings because otherwise it was literally just flashing neon rainbow lights everywhere.
Yeah.
So
not good.
it's probably just like well, it's Koei Tecmo's weird issues with the AMD hardware that's been a problem for like half a decade at this point.
I know some people who were playing the demo had like experienced like some cutscene banding, like a weird line in cutscenes. I don't know if they fixed that with the
Yeah.
recent patch. and that's a
Yeah,
bizarre issue too.
I didn't have that, but I have seen it like reported. And I know that Adam, you mentioned noticing that, right?
I saw it in one cutscene, but then like the next few, I didn't see it. So I'm like, did they fix this already? Because I know the demo got an update, so maybe they
Yeah.
fixed it. But yeah, I when I first got this error, so what it looked like a zebra stripe of some sort, where it was like bright, dark, bright, dark. Like I could see the whole image, but like the lighting was off. I'm like, is my monitor bugging out? And then I saw other people saying that, like, oh, okay, it's the game. But I think it might have been fixed, and it doesn't seem like everyone has it, but no big deal now, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. The other
Sometimes it's hard
thing
to
I
tell these
wanted
days with PC issues whether you don't know if it's the game's fault or a Windows 11 fault. at
Yeah.
times.
Yep. The other thing I wanted to mention is that I've been getting really into HDR lately, so I've been very curious about the state of HDR in PC ports. And I know that Rise of the Ronin's default HDR implementation wasn't very good, which is why there was like a Reno DX mod, which, if you don't know what Reno DX is, it's a reshade plugin that injects proper like tone mapping and all the information the game needs for HDR. So a lot of people that use HDR in PC, they'll specifically use those mods because HDR has been a crapshoot, and generally it's like just better off to use those mods to get better tone mapping experience. That's why I use in Monster Hunter Wilds, and what I use in like 14 actually. Point being, there's HDR in Nioh 3, and the moment that I booted it up and I checked the HDR menu, I immediately knew they cared about this. Two things. Usually a game with HDR, they will default to 1000 nits peak brightness or higher than that, which for like mini LED monitors, that would be fine. But a lot of people that are using HDR on PC with like OLED monitors, it's not going to work out that way. This one, it very clearly actually read the information from my HDR like stuff that I set up like in Windows 11, because instead of it saying 1000 peak nits peak brightness, it said instead 800, which is what it's set to, and it's not something that you would choose unless you specifically were checking that data. And it also had a separate paperwhite brightness slider, which is something that Durante did not do with Trails Beyond the Horizon, much to my chagrin. And it had like proper it's a good implementation, which is very rare. It's very, very rare.
Yeah, I recommend people when they like boot up the Neo 3 demo and the full game, like, hey, give every settings option, like look through the menus of the settings. Like, there's a lot of options that you could tweak with in this game. Like they went all out with the options in this game. Like I was impressed. I was like, wow, there's a lot of things you can tweak in this game.
Definitely sounds like there's a lot of excitement around Neo 3. So I know we were planning to have a shorter conversation this week, but I think it was still a worthy one. We'll just keep going into it next week with the full release on that. So definitely one that I've got on my radar. So
Yeah, so I tried the PS5 demo. I tried the alpha actually for like just 2 seconds, because I remember if you like play the alpha, they give you some helmet or some shit in the game. They always do this, like this dangle some useless item, but I always get baited. But I didn't finish the alpha, so I was like, let me try the demo. Demo was pretty big. Like I think the demo on Steam was like 80 GB. I don't know what the hell, they probably like shipped most of the game in the demo, but PS5 demo is really good. I was kind of afraid. I don't know. The same reason as Rise of the Ronin, right? I thought, is this going to be like during the open zone, is this just going to fluctuate like unstable? But so far it's really good. Very happy with that. Uh, Based on what I've seen of the demo on Steam, though, like this is not one to play on Steam Deck, but hopefully the full game, we'll see how that holds up. But yeah, I'm happy with the PS5 version. Steam Deck demo, not great. Haven't tried it on anything else yet, like on the ROG Ally or whatever. But enjoying the game, and I've been neglecting the samurai thing also. I should probably like give that more focus, because I just keep forgetting about that. Like I was too into like Neo 2, just didn't think of that. But
It's
yeah, I'll
cool
see.
that both styles are like feel competent. Like there's just no like objectively one is better than the other. It's like it really depends on how you prefer to play the game. Like there's no preferable one. There's no right answer to them either.
Yeah.
Go wild
But yeah,
whether you
like
want to play
excited for
one
the
or
thing.
both.
Yeah, excited for the full
Yeah.
game.
Since you mentioned it,
So-
how's Code Vein 2 on Steam Deck?
They haven't like I haven't gotten my code
Oh,
to
okay.
play that on this thing, but I was talking to a friend of mine who like runs Steam Deck HQ, and he got code for it the time when we got, like when the deluxe edition unlocked or whatever.
Yeah.
So I just like texted him and said, "Is it playable at all?" And then he's like, "I doubt it." And then like 3 hours later, he's like, "Do not even bother downloading it." So
My
yeah.
Steam Deck caught on fire. Do not do this.
Yeah. I think like from the screenshot he sent me, it honestly looked like one of the worst like performing things on Steam Deck. And it's like, when you have an Unreal Engine 5 game and you disable all the lighting, so it basically looks flat and like kind of like, I don't know what to say. Just looks like the game has not loaded correctly. Even with that, he sent me a screenshot of it at like 15 FPS in the first hour. So that's definitely like I'm excited for Cullen and myself to play the Switch 2 port. That's all I'll say.
That, oh man, it's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be crazy if Code Vein 2 and Neo 3 both somehow get Switch 2 ports, if ever.
Yeah.
How that'll go.
Yeah.
I have to imagine if they're gonna do that first, maybe the both companies will try to do like their predecessors on Switch 2. Who
Yeah.
knows?
But yeah, Neo 3, like I'm very happy the PC port for people who play on PCs is like shaping up to be pretty good, because whatever they did, like I remember they improved Neo 2 compared to the dog shit Neo 1 port, but it was still kind of like not great. So like now at least I haven't heard major complaints from anyone, and like they released the demo, so they were confident.
Like I said, like the biggest downfall really with Code Vein 2 is it released so close to Neo 3. Especially even like even if you compare their demos, like Code Vein 2 had a character creator demo, which is cool because you could spend hours on character creation if you really want to. But Neo 3 is like, go fucking create your character, which I was like, obviously the character creator isn't as good as Code Vein 2, but they on top of that you can play a lot of the
I,
game.
I will say, even if it's not as good as Code Vein 2, I think it's pretty damn close. You can really change like your facial shape on
Oh
like
yeah,
pretty
yeah.
much every fucking part of it. So
There's still, yeah, it's still very much like a very like comprehensive character creator, but it's just like it's so hard to when you're in a character creation competition, your opposite is Code Vein. I have to admit, at the very least, Code Vein has the leg up there. But even then, you do have a lot of options in the 3. But I feel bad for the timing on Code Vein, man, because when you just like when you play both of these games and you're just like, man, Neo 3 is kind of really fun, and Code Vein 2 is like has sparks and moments of fun. You're like, fuck.
It's okay.
literally, if Neo 3 wasn't coming out in less than a week, I would have picked up Code Vein 2 because I did enjoy what I played at the preview event. But it's like I'm sorry, Code Vein 2. I'm sure you're fine. You're no Neo 3.
And with that, I think we'll go on into like articles and news with one quick addendum here. We talked very briefly about a little bit of a side quest for us. Mikhail had mentioned that he had started Dispatch. Sounds like you finished and you asked me for 5 minutes for a very quick follow up
Yeah.
on your time through Dispatch.
Okay, so I don't remember where I had played when we recorded last week, but I was close. I think I had 2 episodes left. The way they released this in November was like 2 episodes every week, kind of like a whole
Mhm.
month or 5 weeks. And that was like their first season, they call it, because it's like a TV show with some gameplay. So I finished it. I really enjoyed my time with it. The story was good, characters good. I've seen how another option which I would have picked would have played out differently, and they actually had like the whole animation work for that choice, so it's not half-assed or whatever, so that was good. The one thing I was a bit confused about is I mentioned the management resource mini game, or like that's kind of the gameplay part where you have to dispatch heroes based on what you think they do better when there's a task at hand on the map. Like it'll be like, oh, my kid is stuck in a tree, you have to decide who you have to send over there. So like in the first 7 episodes of Dispatch, whenever you had to do this, if you failed everything, it didn't really matter. But the finale is when they actually make this gameplay part matter. So that was kind of dumb, because I feel like if you've gotten people used to not paying attention and not caring about how good they are at this, you're suddenly like railroading them into this thing where, oh, if you don't do this, you might get like not a bad ending, but you might not see some path playthrough or whatever. So that was kind of bad. But yeah, I played it on Switch too, and like it's been in the news. Like if you've been paying attention to any news in the last week of gaming, basically the Switch One and Switch Two versions are censored. Like I didn't say that last time because I was under embargo, but there's been a lot of discussion about how like this is because like it had to release as one SKU in like because Japan rating board and there's one SKU, so it affects every part of the world. But I think there's more to that story because it's just the North American version on the eShop where they had to even censor the art for the game over there, and there's more than nudity which is censored. Like there's one scene where a character flips you off and shows you the middle finger. Even that's blacked out on the Switch One and Switch Two version. So it's kind of, I don't know.
To be clear, Mikhail, they also released this was not available on PS5 in Japan until the same day they released the Switch version, which has the exact same censorship as the Switch version.
No, I get that. I get that. So like there's a lot of speculation as to what's happened, but like right now, from my point of view, there are two parties at fault over here. One is ad hoc for not making it clear that the Switch version and Switch 2 versions are going to be edited. And I saw them saying that, like we had like it's not easy to just update the store description, but like you have social media accounts, you could have posted this. And the second thing is, you can say all you want about like the PS5 version came out over there. Nintendo made them change the artwork for the North American eShop listing, so there's like more to the story. And now they're like we're working with Nintendo and trying to like restore some of the content back and all. Like given what Nintendo's been doing recently with like Neptunia getting banned and stuff, like it's like it's an unfortunate situation because I feel like ad hoc would have, even if they like didn't release this game in Japan and just released it elsewhere and had it like fully whatever, I think the sales would have like made up for it. Like right now you've just pissed off everyone, and I don't know like if that's going to work out for them, like if they like restore some of the content back or not. But yeah, I told Brian I'd take 5 minutes. So basically I enjoyed Dispatch a lot despite the dumb censorship, and I laughed at that part where the middle finger was censored. So like yeah, if you want to play it, like definitely play it, and I hope you can play it unspoiled. Like it has like the best use of licensed music in any media I've experienced since Cyberpunk Edge Runner. So like that's high praise from me. Absolutely recommended.
I think it's just unacceptable that they didn't like have any prior correspondence about this, and they and
Oh yeah,
people
yeah.
try to
So
figure them out for
the
themselves.
problem is like if this would have happened on Steam, no big deal. You can just get a Steam refund. But like getting a refund on Switch and Switch 2 is not easy. It's harder than even doing it on PS5, which is not easy as well. So like, uh, this is one of those situations that they should have just worked with Nintendo and said, if people want a refund, like give them if you can or something like that. But it's just a whole like shit show over here. But I'm gonna be interviewing ad hoc soon for like Nintendo Insider. So let's see if they even comment on any of
Yeah,
this
I mean,
when
like
I get my
I feel like they're
responses
not.
back.
I feel like
Yeah.
we're gonna sidestep it, but yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I know, but like whatever.
yeah,
I gotta try.
definitely worth asking. Not saying don't ask you,
Yeah,
saying definitely worth
yeah,
asking. It's just like I just feel like that is such a like whenever I get around to this game, I will always think about this incident because that this is enough for me to like damage like my trust in that studio of like, hey, you didn't tell your consumers up front like that this will have censorship. Like, are you that's crazy not to inform the public about that. Like
yeah.
having it sucks
I
and
hope
like
you enjoy it
being
whenever you
pressured
play
to
it,
do it
bro.
like sucks, but like it's definitely like why would you not inform the public of that? You have so many ways to inform the public about this prior to release. That should be
Yeah,
something that should be, a very obvious thing to do.
yeah, I
When
know.
people are
I'm
going to
just
spend money
like I
on
know.
it.
Yeah, and it's like I said, difficult to refund. But yeah, like whenever you get around to it, if they announce like season 2 or whatever, and you play this, I hope you get to experience it
Yeah.
unspoiled because it's
Yeah.
absolutely worth it. So
Mhm.
With that, we'll go into our article shoutouts for this week. Only a couple for this week. One of them is a review that I know that James had mentioned he had been working on. I believe he had mentioned he had been working on
Yeah.
for a game that just released literally a couple days ago. Steel Century Groove. We've mentioned this on the podcast before. It's an indie game that involves dancing robots. So, just James, I remember you said that you thought that this one was really promising. What ended up being your final thoughts on this?
I thought it was very good. It's most like I said in the review. I knew it was a small team. I didn't remember there was like essentially just a solo dev. Like he got a couple of the songs on the soundtrack were licensed out with Creative Commons, but the bulk of the development was just the one guy, and it's like for a solo like first indie project. I think he worked at like a AAA publisher before this. It's like, man, this is actually pretty damn impressive. Like,
Yeah, I remember meeting this guy. I unfortunately don't remember his name at GDC last year. And I kind of offhand asked, like, how big is your team? And he was like, oh, me.
What team?
Yeah, like, it's just me. And I forget exactly what he said. He said, like, he had some, assistants here and there, but it's like, it was just him demoing his game, like, as the primary
Wow.
solo dev for it. So,
So James has his review up on the site for Steel Century Groove. It's PC only for now, but seems like a very interesting, kind of quirky, fun title. And then our second of two features this week is one of Mikhail's standbys. You had a chance to look at and compare the different releases of Persona 3 Reload. So this is definitely your bread and butter. What's your thesis statement, your final conclusion on the performance of Persona 3 Reload across all the different platforms it's available on?
Okay, I'll keep this short. The Switch 2 version, too conservative. Atlas has fixed some of the major issues, but it's still not great. Right now, it's not the best portable version. That's like ROG Ally followed by Steam Deck OLED. And it's not the best TV version because it's like you have 1080p 60 FPS with a lot of cutbacks compared to 4K 60 on the other consoles with ray tracing reflections, with ray trace reflections. So like you're just getting a playable and like good version. You're not getting the version the console deserved. Besides that, the only thing I'll say is I can't wait to see the responses to the photo for this one for one specific reason. So I don't know if you want to look at it now on the podcast or not, but yeah, that my takeaway is like it's hopefully Atlas does better for their next Switch 2 port, but it's amazing on everything else though. So yeah.
I'm not going to spoil the photo. It's fun. So if you don't know what
Yeah.
we mean, you should follow us on social media at our RPG site. There you go. All right. An interesting number of like fairly fun new announcements this week of some like double A or mid tier sort of games. Like and a few of these I have some interest in, and in no particular order here. I'll start out with this one. We got the announcement of a game that we've talked about on the podcast in the past, the newest entry in the Utawarerumono series. At the time, we only had the Japanese title Shirohino Micha Shirube, but it's been announced since then that it's going to get a worldwide release, including PC. So PC, PS5, Switch 2, and now has a fully localized title in addition. It's going to be in the West, it'll be known as Utawarerumono Past and Present Rediscovered, and it will
so
launch on. Is something
one
wrong?
slight correction. You said it's getting a worldwide release, including PC. It's like it's only the PC version. It's worldwide.
No. Thank you for the correction there. Okay. Worldwide release for that platform, also available on PS5 and Switch 2 in Japan.
Yeah.
It'll be releasing on May 27th.
Yeah, maybe it'll be like Monochrome Mobius, where say NIS America does the console versions down the line, but it's an unfortunate situation where Purevoon is only a PC development house, PC porting house, and their translation stuff they only do on PC. They don't release on consoles. And I guess part of the reason why Aqua Plus doesn't put the English translation in the console versions is kind of like leave the door open for like companies to pick it up themselves. But it's just frustrating, especially since we had the entire like trilogy ported to Switch last year, and those haven't been localized, even though like Aqua Plus owns the scripts. Like any company could have gone up to them and said, "We want to localize these. Can we license this out?" Because we know from the series history with those 3 games that Aqua Plus owns the scripts. Because yeah, Atlas did 1 and 2, but like Purevoon was able to do the PC versions. They did an extra editing pass. They didn't need much extra work, but same thing with Nice's work on Prelude to the Fall. And that PC version also Purevoon, a much heavier editing pass, but still, it's like just it doesn't really impact me since I play on PC, but I know a lot of Utawarerumono fans or people that might want to get into the series, where the fact that this series is essentially PC only in the West when it isn't PC only in Japan has been a bit of a pain point. It
They haven't
sucks.
relisted some of the games yet, haven't they? I think it's only Prelude and Monochrome Mobius. I don't know if Zan is
Yes.
still available or not. I have to check that. But
Yeah.
Mask of Deception and Mask of Truth were delisted because those were from Atlas and like Atlas under Sega or whatever. Like those got
It's like
delisted,
only
like you
like a
said.
5-year licensing agreement or some shit.
Yeah, so like it was if you buy an expensive physical copy of that, otherwise there's no way to play that in English on console right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder what. I wonder if there's talks behind the scenes with the Aquaplus and now their new owner, Ukes, of like this situation.
Yeah.
I can't
They're gonna make
imagine
a
they're drowsy.
WWF Utawarerumono game next.
Yeah.
That'd be the
Yeah.
best collab.
There you
Yeah.
go. But and
It's
also like,
weird stuff though,
go
because I
for it.
remember back in the day when Nisa released both Utawarerumono Zan and like Cold Steel 3 and 4, it's like, okay, why didn't you do the collaboration outfits for those two games specifically? You had the licenses for both. That should have been something you were able to do, and they just didn't fucking do it.
Yeah. And also there was talk from the Octoplus themselves that like I guess past and present rediscovered is gonna be the final Utawarerumono
I
game.
wonder
That's
if
what
that's
they said.
being weasel words, because
Mm.
this is called Utawarerumono, but it's very explicitly a sequel to Monochrome Mobius.
Mhm.
I wonder if because I do wonder if they're just calling this Utawarerumono because the spin-off name for Monochrome Mobius, maybe they thought that that's part of the reason why that game bombed in Japan. Maybe it's not actually the end of the series, but it might just be like this is the last Utawarerumono. That's complete speculation. I have nothing that's specifically to base it off of, but it just I don't know. We'll see. There's a lot of ground to cover. I don't know why that game moves so glacially. Like Monochrome Mobius set up a lot of shit and answered none of it.
I think Aquaplus should stop fucking around and collaborate with Shirobune for White Album too. That's what I think.
I
Wait.
would fully believe that they'd want to, but I think all that shit that happened with like Dungeon Travelers on Steam is why it hasn't happened yet.
Come on, man! You gave us White Album 1 already.
Because the thing is that like the Dungeon Traveler stuff that was banned on Steam like over a year before they did the PC versions, and it's like at the time I wasn't able to say that I had talked with them behind the scenes, but the reason they didn't even fucking talk about it for so long is that they were worried about burning bridges with Valve, who are essentially the only place that sells games on PC. It's yeah. If I were them, I completely understand. A a VN that's about a romantic relationship in high school.
I know.
No.
I know.
I wouldn't even. I would not waste the time translating it just because that's asking for trouble. When it's something like Type Moon, where they were probably able to just like get through it with Fate Stay Night, and even then, it's not even a high school story. That's one thing, but they've already been burned before. Aquaplus isn't big. Shirobune is definitely not big. It's just not worth it. Not worth it. It sucks.
Damn, why do you destroy my hopes?
No, you gotta keep the faith alive, Chow. Despite what anyone says, you have to keep the faith alive, or else there's no point.
Look, we got rant developing.
Convince DMM to release their Aquaplus games on GOG instead of what's it called again? That terrible PC platform with
Joren?
Joren, yeah.
Yeah. This
I
reminds me
would
of like
love. I'm genuinely fascinated, and I want to try out Dungeon Travelers 2-2, but I will probably play it on my Vita because I'm not buying that PC version on that platform. No.
This reminds me of they actually just released an official updated English localization to King Exit from the developers of Demon's Roots, and I remember talking about that several years ago because I wanted to play Demon's Roots because of how praised it was, and I really did enjoy that game. But I was like, okay, I'm gonna play through King Exit, and then like that game was already delisted from many places years ago because like there's a whole situation with its like abysmal English script like very machine translated. It's like I don't know if it was machine translated or it was like really really just incompetently done. Genuinely one of the worst English scripts I interface with in a video game. But they released that only on DL site. This updated English localization of King Exit, which is official, but it's only on DL site as far as I know. I was like, oh, interesting. But I mean, I get it in a sense. Like that game is, it's very 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 graphic with a lot of premise and it's what you do in that game. But I was kind of curious because I was like, it's only on DL site. Yeah.
Your game had any weird DRMs when you got it from DL site?
I mean, I didn't get that game from the DL site. So I don't know what DL site's DRM stuff is.
Oh, no,
Like,
there's some games that you have-
when I played King Exit way back when, before this updated English release, it was through piracy because there was no way to obtain that game legally. It was not up for purchase anywhere else, so I got it through piracy.
Makes sense.
The next news story we have here, I'm going to defer over to Mikhail because it's kind of a combination of an announcement. Plus, you were able to, it was like a roundtable interview that you had access to for I'll give you the title GeniGods Nezha, GENI Gods. So, this is a new action RPG that was announced just in the last week. It's got a publisher and a developer specific, like bespoke for the title, GeniGods Lab. And it's in development for a ways out for 2028 for PS5 and PC, and it's going to get like some sort of official Sony support for the console release, potentially for the PC release as well. So, tee me up here. Like, what is GeniGods Nezha, and what did you like? What was the experience you had with the roundtable of this announcement?
Okay, so GeniGods Lab is a developer in China who's like done some mobile games for Sony, and they've been like doing a lot of work for like apparently for like over a decade now. I hadn't heard of them until I got offered this interview up by Alex, our boss. And yeah, it's an action RPG, and usually I saw the key art and I was like, is this just going to be another Souls? Like, because like that's what 99% of the announcements are these days. But they actually were specifically like they called it out multiple times saying that this is not a Souls. Like, they wanted to make an action RPG inspired by the older God of War games with like uh, an elemental combat system which also borrows from Street Fighter 6's modern style as an option, because they said they want to make a game which has like a lot of cinematic combat build on the elements which they made a big deal about during the gameplay. They showed a boss fight in one of the trailers which they released, and yeah, basically it looked really nice, but then 2028, so I was a little concerned, like is this whatever? But they actually told me that they've already sent out a playable build of the game to Sony, and Sony is supporting them with like dev help and stuff, but they haven't announced anything beyond that, because usually you'd think this is like a China hero project thing, but right now it's just Sony's helping them, nothing beyond that. uh, and one more thing I found a bit interesting is, despite this, they said they're launching on PS5 and PC, but they are open to other platforms. They'll look into that later. Usually you don't really see this when like you have like a platform holder like helping out with the game, or you don't talk about it at least beforehand. uh so the interesting thing about the combat is like the gameplay which they showed, it didn't actually like tell me much about the UI and how the thing plays beyond a health bar. But I just asked about the accessibility, because like they said not a Souls like, but they said they wanted to be cinematic and they have this exploration in their open zones and all that. So they brought up Street Fighter 6's modern combat, and I don't know if you've played Street Fighter 6 or not, but default is called like classic, which is like how Street Fighter is. You input button combinations, directional inputs, and then you perform skills. Modern combat lets you do it with less inputs, and you have like a button you can hold to like do stuff. So what they want over here is people who aren't familiar with action games or RPGs, they'll be able to hold like R1 or something and then mash and then perform the combos for whatever, like in a boss fight that they're doing. That I found a bit interesting. And besides that, they said it's an Unreal Engine 5 powered thing. They're doing ray tracing and all that. But like we've like regularly spoken about how Unreal Engine 5 games usually run like dog shit on PC unless they've put in a lot of work. So I brought that up when I like during the roundtable interview, like how are you dealing with that? And they brought an example of one of the games which they worked on, where they said that they are very familiar with scalability for the engine, that they were able to do hardware accelerated ray tracing in a iPhone 16 project which they showed last year. So they're pretty confident in the PC version, and they said Sony's supporting them with optimization stuff for the console version. So besides that, I'm kind of sold on the premise, because like, Adam posted about this on Blue Sky. Like, it's kind of cringe now when you get an email saying that, oh, Resident Evil meets Balatro or some crap like that. but like, over
Nice, we're
here
gonna
when
sign
they,
up. That sounds
yeah.
awesome.
So
What
so
the fuck?
over
That'll be
here
the
when,
merch.
yeah. Imagine if you have like when you're doing your inventory in Resident Evil, you have to like play a roguelike with cards and stuff. Like,
Okay,
yeah,
I'm actually
that's
getting
cool.
sold. What the fuck? This sounds awesome.
Yeah,
I
hire
would
me.
buy that.
So
Go on.
so basically, I was like, if you say God of War 3, that's not really an RPG. So I was like, what RPG elements are you doing here? So they brought up they have this elemental system which builds on the Chinese mythology and the gods and stuff. Didn't go into more details about that, but they said that the complexity of combat is going to be in between God of War 3 and Black Myth Wukong, which is kind of a bit vague. But during the presentation, like, this wasn't posted in any trailer. They also had this like a graph where, how you have like chaotic, neutral, and chaotic, that the whole meme which people make. So
Yeah, the
this one
alignment
had like,
system. Yeah.
yeah, so this one had a chart which said, here's like, on this extreme is God of War 3, on this extreme is like whatever, like just hypothetical, like over here it's Sekiro, on top it's Elden Ring, and on the bottom is this. And they said our game is in between these two in terms of complexity.
What the fuck does
So
that mean? Sorry, but like that means
yeah,
that is so funny to have a
yeah,
fucking chart about that,
yeah.
and then like try to like
So
it's
yeah,
right here on the graph. It's right here on the graph. It's like
yeah,
it's like 1/4 Sekiro
yeah.
and like 3/8 I don't know fucking
Yeah.
God of War. It's like
So
okay, well,
so because the gameplay video for the announcement, I mean, this could be anything. Like, it doesn't actually tell me much, but they were very adamant on saying, it's definitely an RPG. We have our elemental system, and it's gonna, if you've played Black Myth Wukong, it'll feel familiar, but it's not that complex and stuff. And they even had like this one interesting thing they showed us. They were talking about like the projected sales numbers for. They brought up Black Myth Wukong, which has done like, I think, 28 million or 30 or something like that. I forget the exact number. And then they brought up Phantom Blade Zero, which is coming out this year, which also, according to them, is like going to sell really well. And they are pretty confident in their game, because they expect it to be a series of 3 titles, which they build, with this being the first one. I kind of like roll my eyes when you like say that for a game which is not out for a few years, but whatever. I'll hopefully they do a demo or something, because I want to try it out. Lost Soul Aside is like a game which someone else brought up, like, when talking about this one, and I believe right now it's in a much better state than it was at launch. So I need to like give that a shot as well, because I was enjoying the combat. It just ran like shit when I played it, so I want to give that a shot and see how it goes. But yeah, like, I like the aesthetic what they've shown over here, but they've just shown one area. Even though they said that you get like the freedom to move around, approach, there'll be bosses on the map and stuff like that. So it's all like kind of vague stuff. But I'm into the aesthetic they have over here, at least. So hopefully the combat delivers and doesn't remind me of that graph again. So yeah.
yeah, it's just really funny that it's kind of funny. They're also on their YouTube description. They describe this game. Chow, before I fuck it up, what's the pronunciation for GeniGods, and then it's not Nezha or Nezha. How do you pronounce
It all depends on what you speak. If you speak Cantonese, it's Naja.
it? Uh-huh.
If you speak Mandarin, it's like Waja. Like
What if I only speak
completely.
English?
Well, I don't know.
I don't know, you mispronounce that. Well, sorry, I can pronounce it as Nezha because I don't want to fuck up.
But
I don't
that's
want to offend
that's the actual
people.
Chinese way.
Trying... No?
It's like when you look at the English spelling, it's like it doesn't match anything like Chinese. So.
I don't know. But they describe it on their YouTube description as like a premium pay upfront hardcore action role playing game, which is I understand why they describe it as that. It's just really funny to see it spelled out like that because there are many Chinese developers who are making these premium like more traditional titles. It's not a free to play mobile game targeted platform sort of deal. There like a good chunk of Chinese developers are really like releasing like like premium traditional paid games Like not
Pay
just
up
this
front.
game.
They had to highlight
Yeah,
that in the
the the,
article. It's
the,
like,
the Phantom
pay up
Blade
front.
Zero, Black Myth Wukong, but there's also one I forgot the name of it already. That almost looked like Avatar: The Last Airbender. A few weeks back, it was like also a Chinese developed game, I believe, that had like a whole gameplay trailer. Um, that we talked about on the podcast. I already forgot its name, and then there's also like there's also that one, the Tides of Annihilation one. Um, that was on a state of play that kind of looked like Chaos Legion. It's just like it's cool that like we're getting like all these sorts of like different titles that are just like, hey, you don't have to contend with this free to play gotcha format. It's like you can just like one time pay up front. There you go. And them emphasizing that is good. It's good. I understand why they do it. It's just funny.
What was that Black Myth sequel that with the Exorcist guy?
They're working on the Black Myth Wukong or Black Myth series sequel, but I believe at that time when they showed it off at the Game Awards, it's like, yeah, this is really the only thing that we have on this.
Yeah, it
So
was like pretty bare bones. So I don't think we
yeah.
will get.
I mean, it's like also a
release
CG
date.
trailer, right? And they even admitted it's like we wanted to give people a heads up that we're working on this. We'll see it like in maybe 7 to 8 years. I don't know.
Yeah.
If that's the only thing they really have, it's like, okay, well, um, we'll check back in and
I don't know. Maybe this is why I'm so harsh in certain games, like the Final Fantasy series. Like you waited like 8 years for a sequel, so you're like extra harsh on it.
it's kind of, I mean, a lot of these games, like I remember when Wu Chang first got like announced, Wu Chang Falling Feathers, like it was announced like almost like 4 to 5 years before it actually came out. Like it was some time, and they just wanted to like let people know, hey, our studio exists. Please get excited for what we're working on. Here's a first look at it. That's how I interpret these early announcements as like they do have something.
Just to substantiate what you just said, so Wu Chang Fallen Feathers was first announced in summer of 2021. And then
No,
3 years
sure.
later, in summer of 2024, that's when they kind of like re-announced it, and then it came out the next year. So there was like that
Yeah.
3 year gap where it's just like they announced it, and I'm sure they had like small updates along the way, but it wasn't like re-revealed for 3 years later.
Yeah. So I don't. I get why they do it. It kind of, but it also runs this risk of like I don't know if I'm gonna remember this game like in 3 to 4 years when maybe it reemerges and it's ready. Like I'm already struggling to remember the other game that also was an action RPG that was element focused, and I know that game in my head. I don't remember its title though.
There was also that other Sony PlayStation blog. So when Mikhail said like this is a God of War inspired action RPG from China, I'm like, didn't we just have like one of those talked about with the dead guy? Like I couldn't remember what it was called. It was like Lulan, which was like on the PlayStation blog that was also announced relatively recently. That had like a similar phrasing in that action RPG, God of War inspired from China, specifically about like I guess like mythical kingdom called Lulan. But yeah, that one was also
It rings a bell, but I'm like, yeah, I don't remember any more than you do.
Get to this. I will probably play all of these games because they all look pretty cool and it's definitely my kind of game. I'm interested. I will definitely play these games.
Can someone give me an update on Showa, please?
Showa American Story.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's at least on track for this year. They had to delay it, but as far as we know, it's sometime this year till further notice.
Here's a quick announcement that I don't really know much about, but I read into it before the podcast, and it seems kind of interesting. This is from Devolver Digital and CD Projekt. They've announced a mobile and PC game coming out at the end of February called Reigns: The Witcher. I had never heard of this, but I guess the Reigns was a 2016 game that they released for mobile with a very, and I'm describing it as I read it, so I've not played it. This is not firsthand, this is secondhand. Like you take the role of like an unnamed monarch who has like memory loss or something like that, and you have to just swipe left or right to make decisions in terms of like people coming up to you as like a monarch of a nation, and you basically just have to like make binary decisions constantly, which then like apparently evolve into like different scenarios based on your decision history. So Reigns the Witcher, we got a very quick like 1 minute trailer showing some of this with obviously like a Witcher theme to it. It's from the perspective of Dandelion, who was like the bard character in 2 and 3, I believe. He might also be in 1, I don't remember. The trailer also shows some like very light strategy-esque like chessboard sort of stuff. I can't speak to it directly, but it does show up in the trailer. It just seems like a fun little project for Witcher fans if you've played Reigns or if you have any interest in that concept coming out at the end of the month for it seems like a perfect phone game. Just kind of like swipe left and right, go through the scenarios, hopefully have some fun storytelling. It's available for pre-order now for like $6, so not a high, premium title, but it is but it is pay up front, I suppose, to use that
Premium.
terminology. Yeah.
I like the minimalist aesthetic to the art style. Like the characters, they have like it's very blocky in a really charming way.
Mhm, mhm. It's like if Mies had actually like some design ethos. uh,
Interesting
I
description. I
I
love
hate how Mies
it.
look, but I don't know. It looks cute. It looks fun. If you're a Witcher fan, it'll tide you over maybe to Witcher 4. Something to doodle bop on your phone. While as a passenger in a car, or, whatever.
Mhm.
And then the last one is the newest project from Compile Heart. We in the middle of January talked about the original teaser that we saw for it. It wasn't titled at the time, and Kite covered this for us. It's been revealed. It is Villion code. I guess Villion is a portmanteau of, I hope I get my pronunciation right, virion, which is like a part of like a constituent of a virus, and million. So Villion. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Villion code. It'll be available in Japan for PlayStation and Switch consoles in June. So Kite's post goes into detail, all provided by Idea Factory and Compile Heart on this game. It has 6 different protagonists. It has some inspiration from like Buddhism in terms of like 6 elemental elements, consciousness, things like that. So for those that are real, Compile Heart fans, this is a new IP from them. Other than that, I can't really speak to it, but
This is.
coming out.
I'll go for it.
Mhm.
Sorry. Yeah, you want to finish your thought?
Yeah, it's just Compile Heart. I don't have a high opinion of, but also I feel bad saying that because I haven't ever really played any of their games. So it's like this is just me. I look at it, I'm like, not interested. But maybe other people have played more games from them, and it is up their alley. I just don't know.
I feel like more people that have played Compile Heart games are inherently skeptical of Compile Heart games.
Maybe, yeah.
That's true. True.
It's a bit
As someone who's
harsh,
played Compile Heart
but
games, I feel like I'll be honest. I feel like the last good Compile Heart game was the original like PS4 release of Mega Dimension Neptunia V2.
I
That's
will
me.
say that the tactical RPG Fairy Fencer F was decent.
Okay, okay.
Mm.
But okay, so
Is
the big thing with Villion Code is they're kind of pulling a little bit of Furuyu here. I'm sorry to say. They are in promoting this game. They are using big, names in the Japanese industry, JRPG space, who worked on really highly lauded titles in the past from Atlas. Like the project producer of Villion Code is Koji Okada. Some people might know him as Cozy because of his name sounding like Cozy. Co-founder of Atlas. Um, had a lot of involvement in the earlier Megami Tensei and Persona series. People who, also will know Tadashi Satomi, who's working on the scenario for Villion Code. Very much known for the scenario writing on the Persona 2 games and Persona 1. Another ex-Atlas alumni here is Tsukasa Masuko, composing the sound of Villion Code, worked on a lot of the early Megami Tensei games, even before Shin Megami Tensei, but also worked on early Shin Megami Tensei entries and that. And then obviously not ex Atlas, but the character designer is Ilya Kuvshinov, and a lot of people in the West will associate this character designer as from the Ghost in the Shell anime series. Very iconic in that respect, though. A lot of their work is very hit or miss for some people because of the way that they have a certain aesthetic style, art style to them. Um, so so that's kind of the main prominent staff in promoting this game. and a lot of the gameplay details as shared by Famitsu, and the trailer for it is like this whole 360-degree exploration, and like that sounds weird. What does that mean? And basically, like the exploration when you're running around in this game, the maps are in basically a long tube, so you can run left or right, and you're going around the tube map exploration of the fields. So as you're running forward, you can run around like almost as if you're in a tube, and that's kind of the 360-degree exploration. And like these maps are like procedurally generated, and it's very. I'll say charitably, it has been met with very mixed reactions when people have been, seeing more footage of this game and seeing what Famitsu's reported on in this game. Like people are like, I don't know, like some people don't like the character design. It feels like at odds with what the game is trying to present. It feels very, it pops maybe in like not a great way, but also like in the gameplay footage that they showed off, people are very skeptical of how the 360-degree tube-like exploration is shaking out, and then the whole battle system of the game. It's like it's hard to know exactly how the battle system is, what's happening in moment to moment based on the footage that they've given us, but it very is reminiscent of like what you would expect in a compile heart game, both visually and maybe like the movement of it too. Is like, you've seen it in other compile heart developed games where it doesn't it's maybe not as higher up as like something you'd see out of like Atlas or Square Enix titles, for example, production values. um Adam, what do you make of this? Like, it feels like it feels weird because uh, in modern times, these ex-Atlas people are, still making games from other different studios, and it feels like it's not hitting. You used to love these names based on their past works, and now we're just like, okay, we had Monarch, we had Caligula, we had
When's the last time it hit?
Great
When was the last time this played out?
fuck. Ex Atlas games, modern games. I don't know if they ever hit. So maybe Caligula too. I don't know if that was ex Atlas people people though. I don't know if that they were involved with that. It seems like Caligula too, maybe.
What was that meme again? It's when you see your goat is now washed. It's like, what's the famous one? The Kazuma Kaneko?
Oh yeah, we're not even gonna get into it in this podcast, but they're basically they're re-releasing that Kazuma Kaneko project that had generative AI for its card artwork that's trained on his style, but it's still very much a lot of generative AI in that, and they're re-releasing that onto Switch and shutting down like the previous version. It's like Kazuma Kaneko Tsukuyomi. That is peak. My goat is washed. That God, man, fuck. I, I I love that man's art style to death. I've had multiple art books of his. I own them before he ventured off into this whatever he's doing.
A shell realm.
Man, yeah. But yeah, Adam. Do you have any thoughts to share on this Villion code thing?
I don't know, like Tadashi Satomi, like I really like Persona 2's, character and narrative writing elements. But then I played like Caligula 1, which he also was, a writer on. And like I feel like charitably there's like one character in that game I'm like, this is actually a really interesting take on a character, but the rest just like did not land for me. And apparently out of Furyu's titles, apparently Caligula 2 is considered oftentimes the best one, and that's like the only one I haven't played. So one day.
Yeah, man. I don't know. Hopefully, this Villion code thing is cool, maybe, but everything is looking like no. I don't know. I feel like I love a lot of the work that a lot of these these staff have worked on when they were under Atlas, and now just like I don't know. I don't know I feel like my life is a lie at some point. I feel like me loving these ex Atlas people at one point in my life, as more time has gone on, it feels like my life is a lie. It's like, man.
Well, later this year we're gonna get the Raido 2 remaster. It's gonna happen, and you'll be like, I like these Kaneko designs. Remember when Kaneko did
Yep.
good designs?
And Yeah, yeah. I mean, at least a lot of the newer designs. I forgot who was the protege of Kaneko now at Atlas. I'm forgetting his name off the top of my head.
Doi.
At least, yeah, Doi, Masayuki Doi. At least his designs are starting to like get cooler and cooler as time's gone on. At first, I was like, I wasn't really feeling it with like the 4 Apocalypse era, but as time has gone on, it's like okay, they have something like I kind of dig their art style.
I actually saw someone just this past week lamenting that like they missed Trauma Center, and they actually
Uh
noticed
huh.
how like Trauma Center designs from Doi, because that's what he did before Mega
Yeah.
SMT, were like just really kind of unique and varied, and also like multicultural, like dark skinned people, white skinned
Yeah.
people,
Yeah. Very
Asians,
true. Very
non
true.
Asians. So like
Trauma
they kind of
Team
liked it.
has
Yeah.
some fucking ace designs. Yeah, Trauma Team is excellent in the character design department. I really hope those games actually like do get released. Like the Trauma series is genuinely one of the most interesting like games that like Atlas has worked on. I don't know why they like decide to bury it because it's genuinely like really fun games.
So that covers us for like all the different little mid-tier announcements for the week, but a few games coming out relatively soon. Um, well, I don't know why I said that. Not true for GeniGods Nezha, which might be seen in 5 years. But anyways, a couple trailers for some previously announced games. Well, one trailer and one gameplay overview. The trailer is for the upcoming Trails in the Sky second chapter. It is a gameplay trailer. It is also moderately spoilery. So unless you're revisiting the game, if you started with Trails first chapter and you're interested and you want to play Trails second chapter, I think you already know that. This trailer, it is interesting if you are returning because it kind of shows like some later game events and it toggles between like the original rendition of the events and then the rendition of the events in the newer style. So just in terms of like a technical like faithfulness passing of the time kind of aspect, it's kind of neat. But if you're just interested in playing this game as a sequel to first chapter and you've not played it before, it's pretty spoilery in my opinion, but it's a fun trailer to revisit, bookmark it and revisit it later potentially.
Yeah, you'll see like some of like the villains, like the main villain group in second chapter, like their character models are show up in it and are great. Like I definitely dig them. But there's also also the animations for like some of the new like crafts abilities in the game. Like there's one for Tita that
Yeah, that
involves
one I was gonna
that
bring
one's
it up.
very
Yeah,
yeah very over the top. It's like I wonder how they're gonna do this. It's like they showed it like oh my god that's fucking brilliant how they just
they
did it in this
literally
game.
show the whole S craft as it was, and then I think the whole F craft as it is
Yeah.
now, and it's super well animated and it's very faithful and it's hell
Very
yeah.
lots of personality, lots of little touches, and Tita freaking out during it. It's like perfect,
Yep.
good job. Like I really love the spirit of the developers, the junior developers, remaking the Trails in the Sky games. They have so many like they understood like the spirit of those games and really translated it um like almost flawlessly, like visually and audio wise. It's great.
And then for the second video, it is a 15-minute features overview trailer for the upcoming Crimson Desert. Which, if you don't remember, this is the single player open world action adventure game, releasing in mid-March. So it is kind of related to Black Desert, but it is not multiplayer. It is not online. I did not actually watch this gameplay overview because I know that Adam did, and I believe Josh did as well, based on a few things that you shared in the Discord. So I'll head it off to Adam and then Josh. I know both of you have kind of talked about and had an opportunity to go hands-on for Crimson Desert in the past. So Adam, I know you watched the gameplay overview trailer. Any big things to pull out of there from what you saw?
I remember Crimson Desert's been in development for quite a while now. And I remember we
Yeah.
kind of joked here on this podcast years ago that it kind of felt like it was trying to be like the everything game. Um, in terms of like an open world
Yep.
action
Yep.
RPG adventure platformer, game. And when you go down the comments on this YouTube video, which this video has been viewed a lot, like I see like similar sentiment. Like, does this game just have absolutely everything? Because it does feel like it's trying to like be as broad as possible and as huge as possible. Um, and they talk about the main character Cliff, who's been the main character for a while. They do mention that there are 2 other playable characters, and they show them briefly. There's like a woman who rides on horseback, or at least that's what the trailer shows. And then there's like another person who has like a gun. They don't really introduce these characters, but they just mention there's 2 other characters. There's factions, there's quests, there's like major quests and forts that you can like liberate or whatnot. Then there's smaller quests where I think it shows like you can like help someone transport like stuff on a wagon through like a rocky terrain, like something a little bit more quaint. And then there's like this, I forget what it's called, like the Abyss or something like that, where it's like some sort of like
Yeah.
there's some sort of like spectral spatial like weird realm that like exists in the sky but interfaces with the world that you're finding these kind of like weird artifacts in. It kind of reminds me of like Assassin's Creed or something, hopefully better. And then to Josh's amusement, at one point in the trailer, they're like, "You also get a missile firing mech."
Where do I get this game? Where do I buy it?
Yeah, it does seem to come out of nowhere because it seems like it's relatively grounded in like fantasy and obviously there's like magic and stuff, but like it seems like for a while it's like fantasy land, fantasy world, and it's like and a mech and dragons, but also the mech. So.
Yeah, that was it's one of those games that like because on paper if this does like everything that it's trying to do well or competent or like in fun or engaging, like this could very well be like one of the best games of the year if it manages to be able to like balance these things in like a really fun way that doesn't feel sluggish or tedious. Like on paper this game looks like a lot of fun, but there's always that like what's the catch? Like I'm watching this and I see a lot of cool stuff, but always in the back of my mind, I'm sure a lot of people share this sentiment. Like, what's the catch? Because there's only so much a video game could do, you know. And like this game is like trying to do a lot of stuff, like because it's like you have like like you said, Adam, like these different factions and like these different faction quests and all these different like moments. Like I really like this trailer because it finally shows what you're doing like in the game, like outside of like these boss battles. Because a lot of the promo cycle of this game is like, hey, look at the combat, look at these boss battles. I'm like, okay, but what do you do besides these boss battles, and what's the exploration look like? What do the zones look like? What can I expect out of like when I'm not in combat? What am I doing? I do like that there are some quests like you're just simply like riding a wagon, and that's kind of it. You're able to like escort this like person back to wherever. Hopefully, like the wagon gameplay doesn't feel like you know doesn't feel boring, but I do like that there are slow moments in the game where you can like, kind of take in the environment because it does look like a genuinely beautiful game. And there's like also one section in this game where you're like in a misty, foggy forest, and the way that you're like platforming in this is like doing like this like spell to like almost do like a hop or jump, like where you're like lifted up, and so you're able to maneuver this space in non-conventional ways because you do have like this maneuver or spell in which you're able to like propel yourself up. It's like not just like a double jump. It's like an actual like ability that you use to prop yourself up and glide to like different platforms in this like misty forest environment, these little platforms on the trees, I'm like, okay, that's really cool.
This is in jest. I'm gonna joke here, but you can see the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild influence because they give Cliff like a paraglider, only it's not a paraglider, it's like a magic flying cape thing that you can do some stuff with. So
yeah.
So like some of the moments in this big trailer show him literally like magically gliding across like the gigantic landscape in his magical cape paraglider thing. So
yeah, but like even like in like the like 11-minute 18-second mark, like you see like this whole like the setting of like a circus in front of you, like a little like balloon over the circuit, like the circus environment, and then the NPC variety that you have, like they have like a jester in costume promoting the circus. You have kids gathering around this jester and like just kind of this fun-filled environment. I remember like in our preview hands-on, when you went hands-on with it, Adam, like you appreciated like, hey, like it's cool that like the way that you're depicting like these NPC settings, it's like it's people of all age groups because that's believable, that it's not like it feels like it's not like hindering itself like in like a weird like non-convincing setting. It's like, yeah, in this case, like it would make sense, like that families are traveling together. It's not just like upfront soldiers, like there are just normal citizens of all age groups interacting and trying to survive together, and what do they do for fun in this world. And it's like you kind of get glimpses of that in that portion of this trailer. It's like, like I said, if they're able to somehow pull it off and make this all feel great and fun to explore, like this could very well be like a really top tier contender for this year in terms of like best games.
You know why I made that comment about the character variety in the NPCs? Because I think of
Right.
Kingdom Come Deliverance, which I think Kingdom Come
Mhm.
Deliverance 2, if you talk about on our Game of the Year podcast, is a really excellent
Yeah.
game, but there are no children and there's no old people, few old people, but a lot of the NPCs
Yeah.
are all just kind of like your more typical man and woman, age 20 to 50. That's it.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
there's no children exist in this world, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have the same thought when I was playing Resident Evil as a kid with my friends. They're like, there's always like adult zombies and stuff, but where's the kid zombies?
Yeah. No,
Kids
like
are immune to
the
zombies.
mansion. Yeah. Maybe what happened in that mansion is like maybe a gathering only for no children allowed. I don't know what happened in that
No,
mansion.
but we're even talking about Raccoon City here.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yes, like Resident Evil 2. Yeah.
We also have a couple updates from previously released games from Square Enix. These are all kind of different flavors of different small little updates. So I figured I'd kind of rattle through them here because they're all a little bit interesting. First of all, the most interesting, in my opinion, and the one I'll just arbitrarily talk about first, is that Square Enix is releasing a new version of Final Fantasy VII on Steam, the original PS1 version, and the older version is going to be renamed specifically Final Fantasy VII 2013 edition. So Square Enix provided some levels of detail about what this is, but not as much as maybe it should have been explicit, though people have, kind of read between the lines about what this actually is. From Square Enix directly, they said they're going to be releasing a new version. They don't I don't think they gave a date. Adam, did they give a date on this or just they
No, they
plan to do
didn't.
it?
Now, January 20 or January 31st, I think, is the anniversary of Final Fantasy VII in Japan, like when it first released. So I was wondering if it's going to line up with that, but I don't think it has. Maybe on Monday.
Yeah, we're
Um,
recording this on the 31st. Yeah.
yeah. Uh, but yeah, there's no date for it.
They say when the new version launches, the old version will no longer be available for purchase, but people will be able to have access to it. All players who already own the 2013 edition will be able to get the new version at no additional cost, and both versions will be accessible in your library, so you could play either version if you have both. Save data is not compatible, so old version is stuck with old version, new version stuck with new version. Adam, and I know others as well, but reading between the lines, what do we think this is?
So I remember maybe 5 years ago or whatever, I was deciding where should I play Final Fantasy VII, the original version. I can play it on Steam or I can play it on PS4, and I think the Switch version came out roughly around that time. And the Steam version of Final Fantasy VII is kind of junky, and it was like one of the very first ports that they did to Steam, and it's got the old Square Enix account DRM, like you have to log in. I don't know if you have to log in to play it, but it asks you to log in to play it. And the kind of the it has some built-in cheats that a lot of Square Enix games have now, but it's you have to go to the website and it's server based and not application based. It's very strange. It's a very weird port, and it's actually missing some of the extra features that the PS4 version had or the Switch version had. So at the time back then, I'm I'm just gonna play the PS4 version because it seems like a slightly better port of Final Fantasy VII. Not like a remaster like Final Fantasy VIII, but just a slightly better port. And so my guess is for this new Steam version is I'm guessing, we don't know because they haven't said, that it's going to be more or less making it in line with the PS4 version and the Switch version and the Xbox version. Because right now it's not. The Steam version is clearly older and weirder. That's my guess.
And then on a similar front, but not quite the same, Square Enix has also announced, well, I guess actually GOG announced this, that Final Fantasy IX, Final Fantasy VIII Remastered, Final Fantasy 3 and 4, the 3D remakes, are now available on GOG as part of the GOG preservation program. This is their program where they um, regularly test games with OS updates to make sure that they're always going to be playable, that they're never going to fall and be technically out of date in that sense. And of course, GOG is DRM free, so just good from a preservation standpoint. I presume the new version of Final Fantasy VII will also make its way over there, but that's me speculating. That's not announced. But yeah, Final Fantasy games, if you want them on GOG, they are, uh, let's see, are now available. I just wanted to make sure, and they are also on a
Yeah,
pretty steep discount until next week.
the one thing
Right?
I'm confused about with Final Fantasy VII, just to like go back for a second, is there's a Windows Store version of that, which released like after the Steam version, obviously, because the Windows Store wasn't even a thing back then, as far as I remember. So I don't know if this is like gonna be a port of that, because remember there was this Nier Automata drama where the Windows Store version of that was better than Steam, and then like people had to like like not review bomb, I don't want to say review bomb, but like essentially you've released the better version and not fixed the dog shit port of your very successful game until like much later. So I wonder if this is going to be the Windows Store version getting ported over. If it I don't own that, because I did not realize that the like Adam brought this up, that if you want to buy Final Fantasy VII Remake integrate on Xbox and Switch 2, they have this early purchase bonus version with like that on the artwork. I was not aware that if you buy it on Xbox, you actually get Final Fantasy VII for Windows 10 and Final Fantasy VII for Xbox included with your remake purchase. It's not like one Play Anywhere build. You literally get two different extra apps in your account. So I just wonder how they're going to handle, like, is that what's going to get ported over, or what's going to happen, because they literally didn't say anything. So besides removing the DRM and cheats or whatever, I believe there's like these lip movement things also. I was talking to some people who like work with Final Fantasy VII mods and stuff. So isn't it weird that they just announced that and didn't actually like say when it's coming or whatever?
Yeah, they didn't even say soon. They just said it's coming eventually. Like, okay.
And like when I brought it up to you, like when I told you, like in the staff chat, when I said, why did they randomly dump the Final Fantasy VII soundtrack on Steam? And then you brought up because the anniversary, which I forgot about. And that just happened. Like they posted on their social saying we're celebrating the 29th anniversary by showing some concept artwork and a message or something. And I feel like, this is you should celebrate it by like releasing your new version and like putting all the platforms on discount and like, here, play this game. But like, I don't know, just bizarre how they're handling it.
And they didn't even like we already mentioned this, but just keying in, they didn't even really announce anything other than it's a new version. They didn't really say like what they're changing. So all of that's kind of interpreted.
Yeah, I saw some people wondering if it was going to be like Final Fantasy VIII Remastered, where they redo the character models, but nothing else. But then people kind of quickly said like, well, Final Fantasy VII doesn't even have like regular proportion models. So, like it'd be kind of weird if they redid the character models, how they would do it. So I doubt that's the case. I highly doubt it.
And that would be that information, if that were the case, would have been presented differently. I think we all believe.
Yeah.
And so it would have been shown off. So I do agree that the removal of the old DRM and making it in line with the console version seems the most likely, but it is not actually confirmed to my knowledge is that's what this is.
Nope.
And then the final one, this is real quick. An update to Octopath Traveler 0, which normally I would not cover, like just little tiny patches after games release, unless they have something interesting in them. The only thing I thought was in here that I thought was kind of neat is that they do explicitly say that they updated Octopath Traveler 0 to try to improve the sound quality, because I remember that kind of showed up in some of the reviews and discussions of the game, that it felt tinny and flat.
Yeah, the English
like just
voice
not,
acting was really compressed or low quality for some reason.
Yeah.
Hopefully
so
they'll
yeah,
fix
I have
that.
not made a comparison directly, but they have called it out in their patch notes that they have attempted to address that. A couple sales updates. Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment has sold over 1 million copies. Monster Hunter Wilds has sold more than 11 million copies. And speaking of Monster Hunter Wilds, it has been in kind of the news a lot lately for since it's released, for like performance issues, but specifically about performance issues related to DLC checking. So I forget where it was originally reported, but someone's like, "Hey, I think I found this," and Digital Foundry picked it up and said, "Let's us look into it." And they said, "Yeah, what you found about it performing worse the less DLC you have uh, was largely correct in certain circumstances." And Monster Hunter Wilds did get a fix to try to address this, as well as various other performance issues that still plague that game. Um, I do not know that I have not booted this game up since like a while ago, like last summer. So I do not know if my personal performance has improved, but it seems like the Steam I remember Josh, you showed like a quick little snippet of Steam performance like reviews in terms of like people seem to think it's doing better,
I
but
think that was Mikhail who shared that. And but I've heard
oh,
from
Mikhail, okay.
but from what I hear from other friends, like a lot of their performance issues have been, it's been way more smooth now. So they're starting to play it a little bit more. Now that
I
it's like
will say, I
go-
the performance is improved, but one thing I will say that annoys the shit out of me is they said specifically the big thing that this patch was going to do was also improve the experience of using the HD texture pack. That was a lie. That was a bold-faced lie. The
Oh,
way
wow.
they fixed it is that they
They
completely
downgraded it.
yeah.
Wow. Well, that's a
Like,
fix.
and the whole reason I wanted it is that the default high textures look terrible in some
Well,
instances.
So they probably thought like 5 people playing the game have 50, 90, like they won't notice. Let's just do it and quickly fix it. But yeah, I heard that from another friend also, and he was like, "How are you telling me everyone's happy with the performance?" I was like, "I don't know. I'm going by Steam reviews. I haven't like touched the PC version since I wrote about it. I play on PS5." And then he's like, "No, they made it ugly on." He has a 4090. He's like, "No, it looks much worse now." I was like, "I don't know. I'll ask James, I guess."
But besides that, the overall performance has improved, so it's like it's not all bad. And if you weren't going to be using the HD texture pack, well, I mean, at this point, since it uses way less VRAM, you might as well download it because it still is an improvement from high. It's just the environmental textures are not as good as they used to be. It's
Is there
man,
no way
it's
to like
actually
even put it at like ultra or whatever? Like they just literally
they
downgraded the
literally
textures.
downgraded it because it was like a DLC. It used to be it was like 100 gigabytes to download the HD texture pack. Now it's like 35.
Oh, weird.
Yeah.
Is that getting like, is that on Steam? Like, are people talking about that at least? That because the game is like, it's at like 60%. It used to be at like 20% a few months ago in positive, whatever. But the HD texture pack, let me like have a look at it quickly. I'm on Steam. The HD texture pack, it was mostly negative. Now it's become mixed, but I assume people are saying it's usable now. Thank you for fixing it. But either they didn't notice it or they weren't using the higher setting, I guess. Is that what you think is happening?
Yeah, let me look at the reviews. So the two highest rated reviews, they reduced the file size by over half and fixed the issues. The second highest rated, they completely butchered the texture pack to the point that the store page screenshots do not represent the actual texture quality that this pack gives. After the new patch, installing this DLC is basically pointless. A high resolution texture pack should be high resolution, not what it became after this update. We'll gladly change review back to positive if the issue is fixed. And it's like, yeah, I feel like if you're using this at like 1080p or even like 1440p, you might not notice that it's been downgraded to the extent that it has,
I
but
see.
it's not nice. I mean, it's an optional DLC for people that knew what they were getting into. If they couldn't fix the issues with direct storage, I don't fucking this really pisses me off, honestly.
Wasn't this the thing where someone had a mod which like duplicated
Decompressed
the
it, yes.
texture? Yeah, decompress. Sorry, not duplicated. So what happens with that now? Like, I guess that's not needed because they just made the textures worse, so you won't run into those issues.
Well, I guess technically what you could do is if you had those textures backed up, they're still using the same file names for the textures. So if you do the same symlink stuff that you would do to get it working before and you have 500 extra gigabytes on your hard drive, you probably could do that. You shouldn't have to.
There's two other headlines here at the very end. One's quick and one's actually an indie game shout out. So first out, we talked about this when the Switch 2 first released. The short, fun little interactive adventure game Dear Me, I Was from Arc System Works. It will now also be coming to Switch 1, Steam, and mobile devices on February 12th.
Good game. It's but it's a short game, but deliberately so. But definitely, if people are wanting like an interesting narrative experience that has no voices whatsoever, it's definitely give it a shot. It's a really profound game.
And then this last one is a little quick indie shout out here. I had not heard of it before looking at it right before this podcast. It is called Under the Island from Slime King Games. It is a 2D action RPG that's launching on February 17th. It's launching on, as far as I can tell, most platforms: Switch, PlayStation 5, Xbox, and PC. Not explicitly Switch 2, just Switch 1. It looks like kind of like it's got kind of like that GBA Pokemon look, sort of it, but with like top-down Zelda kind of gameplay, swinging sword, picking up items. Only the character is like swinging a hockey stick, and there's it's got a fun little. It reminds me of like yeah, like a quirky little GBA RPGs is kind of what it reminds me of. So I don't know much else about it. It was not on my radar until like an hour ago, but it looks like it could be a cute game. And I don't know much about the pedigree of the developer either, Slime King Games. But yeah, Under the Island launching in about 3 weeks. So on multiple platforms. So if you like little indie RPG experiences, this one might be up your alley. Take a look at the trailer on RPG site. And that covers us for the topics that I had listed on this episode of the Tetracast. As we've kind of talked about, next week is going to be a lot. We have, of course, the release impending for Dragon Quest VII Reimagined. We've got, of course, follow-up discussion on Nioh 3. There are rumors of a Nintendo Direct, so if that happens, that almost certainly involves games that we will want to cover, because those events always do. So if that happens, that will be covered next week as well. So bookmark us for then, and we'll reconvene in 7 days.
We're screwed if
we have
the records happen. Oh my god. Because we have two big games to talk about, and then whatever these Nintendo Directs seem to be chock full of RPGs these days.
And not only that, but they're like, it's not uncommon for there to be like, there's a new Paper Mario, it comes out in 4 weeks or whatever. Just like, oh,
Well,
okay,
the
let me
rumor,
plan for that.
and I know these rumors are everywhere, is that it's like a partner direct. But even so, like if it's a partner direct, Square Enix will almost sure
Yeah.
they
Probably
almost always in
Falcom.
there. Atlas will announce Rhino 2. That's my prediction.
There we go.
So
Along with
I do wonder-
Digital Devil Saga 1, the HD remaster or whatever.
and Devil Survivor as
I think
well.
FF9 remake. FF9
It
remake
would
for
not be
sure this
announced
time.
it would not be announced at a Nintendo Direct, but related. I wonder when the Bravely Default remaster will go to other platforms, because I imagine that's
Good
going to be at
question.
some
I
point.
expect that just to be like
summer.
a shadow drop on a random like Tuesday. Just like, by the way, it's out now on Steam and PS4 and Xbox. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I expect it any
That was
minute now.
That reminded me of like how out of nowhere the Trails second chapter trailer just dropped. I was like, oh yeah, Taipei game show's going on. That's why it got dropped.
So you can find RPG site on all the social media networks. Sorry, my brain just blinked there for a second. Like, how do I wrap this up again? Just search for RPG Space Site on any social media platform, and you should be able to find us. Shout out again to the two articles that went up this week: the Steel Century Groove review and the comparison for the technical performance of Persona 3 Reload across all the different versions. You can join our Discord, discord.gg/RPG site. If you like this podcast and you listen to it, you can leave us a like or leave us a rating on whatever podcast service you listen to us through. We'd like to see that. We'll be back next week with discussions on Dragon Quest, Nioh 3, and potentially a Nintendo Direct. We'll see. Until you hear from us next time, stay safe, take care, and we'll talk to y'all later.